Better? Check, check. Okay. My gosh. All right. Frauke says, pity with the non-lip readers. Are we good now? Okay. For some reason, my mic was disconnected. So I don't know. Anyway, we are waiting for the Sarah Boone sentencing. In the meantime, I'm just going to chat with everybody. I have a couple of case updates to give you, and I might just do them now instead of making a whole separate video because it's not much. So let's get started. Thank you for all of you who've been here chatting away, waiting. And Detective, I hear you committed a crime. I read that. Yeah, I did. Do you know what he did, everybody? Is he still here in the chat? Because, he's laughing, I'm sure. He ate a half a pan of brownies without sharing them. That's the crime. It's not eating the brownies. It's the not sharing. So, I'm jealous. The detective says, darn those microphone genies. Yes. Yes. Hi, Ms. Jackstar. Hi, Val, Buffy, Romeo. Oh, so many of you here. It's great. It's great to see everybody. And thanks for letting me know that the mic wasn't working. My goodness. Hi, Addie. Okay. Courtney Clenny. Let's talk about that for a second. The defense filed a motion. They want to depose the state. So that's happening. So the judge is going to allow the state time to respond and see them back in court on Friday. It's going to be one of those things by Zoom, and I don't know how to get in on those calls, especially considering I'm in a different country. So I will keep track of it and let you know what's going on. Hi, New Zealand. Hi, Texas. Terry is asking if they were special brownies. I don't know. Corey Richens. Turns out, new information was released. Turns out that not only did she ask the housekeeper for Fent, she also tried to procure Fent from somebody else, multiple sources. And one of those sources was a handyman who worked for the Richens. And he was spoken to by police, gave a statement saying that, yeah, she tried to get Fent from me shortly before Eric's death. But guess what? He died in a motorcycle crash just this October. So he is not going to be available to be a witness. Hi, Singapore. Hi, Colorado, Fargo, Ohio. Hi, Captain Katie. Yes, it is good to be back, whoever said that. Ms. Jackstar, you're asking about the update on Courtney Clenny? I just said it, actually. The defense wants to depose the state, and so the state is going to respond, and they're going to have a hearing on Friday, but it's via Zoom, so I won't be able to get it. Angel baby, you're saying it's snowing where you are? Yes, snowing where I am too. But, this is Canada. Someone's asking if I will be covering the Jamie Komorowski case. No, I was hoping to cover James Craig, the dentist who poisoned his wife. and he's up on new charges, apparently from jail. He tried to hire somebody. He put out a hit on the investigating officer. So he has new charges. And then his lawyer quit because things were supposed to get started today, but his lawyer quit and came right out and said, the guy wants to do illegal things and we want no part of it. So I don't know when that's going to be. Brian Walsh was supposed to start too. So I don't know. I don't know anything about that case, though, that you just mentioned. Hello from the UK. Oh, Jadzia is saying that she really enjoyed the video of Watson doing her search. Yeah. I need to get a harness for her, like a vest, a protective vest, because she got a scratch from the underbrush, and I'm concerned about that. Rita saying it's 50s here today in Texas. I don't know what that means in Celsius. Grace is saying 70s in Key West. That's warm. I know that. Let's see. We are 17 minutes away, probably really 20, because court never starts on time, does it? Hi, Criminal Minds. Criminal Mind says, I've missed this so much. Really? That's nice. It is. I like chatting with you, so I like these. But a lot of the subscribers don't like the lives. Romeo's got the flu. I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Hope it's just the flu, and I hope well, I shouldn't say just the flu. That can actually be serious. I hope it goes away quickly. Detective uses Celsius too, yeah. Martha, balmy -3 in Alberta. Yeah. In Gravenhurst, Ontario, they declared a state of emergency yesterday or the day before. They got 140 centimeters of snow. It pretty much shut everything down. -10 Celsius in Fargo. Ooh. Angel baby, you're an honorary Canadian. Kirsten is saying, I'm very nervous. Are you nervous because you don't know what's going to happen today? She's not getting away with it. That's for sure. Tiffany loves the lives. Yeah, I like talking to you in real time. And I like that you talk to each other. I really like it. Hey, pesky citizen, you're not really late. You didn't miss anything. What did you miss? I was on mute. And so the lip readers were, being called into service for a while. Because, me and tech. And we're just gabbing. So nothing yet. Jazia says, you've been looking for me. Oh, yes. I've got a lot to do. Things keep piling up. And I come on and make YouTube videos instead of doing what I'm supposed to do. So I did manage to get some things done. Oh, Kristen said, I don't trust her and her attorney. Yeah, I don't trust them either. But Judge Kranick is not a dummy. Hey, Sundance Mom, it's your birthday? Happy birthday. I'd sing, but, dogs would cry, so I won't. Oh, Roz, you're in Cambodia. It's 1 o'clock in the morning there? Yikes. Hello, Scotland. Cheryl says in her speech, she'll probably say it was unintentional. Yeah, or not fair. Yeah, she's going to be allowed to say something. Maybe she won't say anything. What do you think? You think she's going to speak on her own behalf or not? Because if she suddenly says she's sorry, um, I don't think anybody's going to believe her because she hasn't been sorry at all. She showed no remorse at all. No, I mean, if you hurt somebody, even accidentally, wouldn't you be horrified? And to do what she did? Yeah. Jay Z says, yeah, she will talk. Yeah. Everybody's saying, yeah, she'll talk. She can't keep her mouth shut. Yeah. Good morning, Marcy. Oh, Romeo is saying you're about talking about a case where the father laced smoothies for the kids. Yeah. Yeah. But one of the girls, this is that case actually was, hi, Addie. Thank you. Happy birthday, Sundance Mom. And thank you. I will put that toward Watson. Okay, back to Romeo. You were talking about the case where the dad spiked the smoothies. That is a good example of teaching your kids to trust their gut, to trust themselves. Because what saved them was one of the girls knew something wasn't right. And of course, she couldn't know what it was that wasn't right, but she knew she needed to get out of there. Now, this is her friend's house, and most kids trust and are told to trust and told to listen to and respect their friends' parents. Oh, these are the adults, you listen to them. And this girl knew something was really wrong, and she couldn't get a hold of her parents, and finally she kept trying until she got somebody to come and pick her up. That little girl is a hero. But that's an example of trusting your gut. I know something's wrong. I know I'm not safe. I can't just sit here and be afraid. I need to do something. And she did. And good for her. Because who knows what would have happened, and who knows what else he's done or what he would have done in the future. True Crime Boozer says one of those girls is an absolute legend. Yeah. Yeah. Took a risk in appearing rude. And that's the thing. You know, sometimes we teach our kids, and we are all socialized to be polite. And sometimes it's okay to not be polite. And even when you're just walking around on the street, at the mall, wherever you go, sometimes a predator will test your compliance. So it's usually a he, could be a she, will ask for something small and easy to do. Like, do you have a light? Do you have an extra cigarette? Can I borrow, a quarter for the payphone? Although I think they don't do that much anymore. Little things to see if you're compliant, to see how easy you will be to get you to engage. So that is, even in those situations, it is okay to be rude. And that's, again, a reason to trust your gut. If it doesn't seem right, then it's okay. You don't owe them anything, right? Oh, Monica is saying Sarah's 100% appealing. She isn't going to apologize. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Monica says, I think she's going to talk and she's going to drag George again. Yes. Yes. Hi, mainly Susie Q. Hi, Tennessee. Cat Y says, Lady Karma's sharpening her claws for you, Sarah. Yeah. I'm just going to check this. No, nothing happening yet. We're about 10 minutes out. Local art witch is saying, I'm hoping she gets life without parole. I think she'll get parole eligibility. Robert, yes, follow your gut. If there are red flags, then there are red flags. And sometimes the red flag is You can't even articulate it to yourself. And in those situations, you don't have time to sort of sit and analyze it. So if your gut's saying something's off, well, look, if you are in a situation, you don't have time to sit and dissect it. Just go with your gut, figure it out later. And if you were wrong, okay, you're safe. Kimberly says, season's greetings, everyone. Nice to have you here, Kimberly. Jenny, did you read the state's motion reply yet? No, I didn't. Let's look that up. We probably don't have time to do the whole thing, but I can have a look. Just chat among yourselves. I'm going to look this up and see what I can find. Oh, here we go. There is a state's response. Okay, do you want to look at it? Do you want to look at the state's response while we wait? We have 7 minutes. It's 13 pages. I don't know. Should we do it? I don't know. I think we should do it. Okay. Let's do this. I'm doing it cold. I have no idea what this is even about. I think it's the response to the motion. Okay. Ground 1, court ruling defendant not entitled to court-appointed counsel. They misspelled appointed. This ground is based upon things that occurred well before the trial began and does not appear to be a basis for the court to grant a motion for a new trial under Florida Rule of Criminal Procedure. The court's decision on this ground is well supported by the facts and law outlined in the court's 16-page order dated June 28, 2024, which kind of makes me smile a little bit because the prosecution is saying, hey, the judge is right. He knows his law. He spelled it out. There's 16 pages. So, I keep wanting to say Crown. The prosecution is basically arguing on the side of the judge, which is always nice, a nice position to be in. 3, the court should not grant a new trial based upon this ground. So short and sweet. Ground 2, court denying defendant's motion to continue. This ground is based upon things that occurred before the trial began and does not appear to be a basis for the court to grant a motion for a new trial under Florida Rule of Criminal Procedure. The defendant is overstating the holdings of the cases she cited, and he cites the cases here. The court shall not deprive a defendant of his or her right to counsel of their own choice. Failure of the trial court to grant a continuance will result in a new trial should the court deny said motion for a continuance by new counsel, is not the holding of these cases. So the prosecution's saying, look, you cited the case law, but that's not actually what it says. What you claim it is not really what it says. A defendant's right to counsel of his or her choice is not absolute, and a court's consideration of any continuance should balance the defendant's right with consideration of the impact on the administration of justice. He cites the case law. Any denial of a continuance to obtain new counsel must be based upon an adequate inquiry into the circumstances with findings to assure the defendant's constitutional rights were not being deprived. 7. The court's 16-page order dated June 28th adequately addresses the circumstances of the defendant's forfeiture of her right to counsel and the setting of a trial certain date of October 7th, 56 months after she was arrested for this crime. The court did not abuse its discretion by denying a continuance in this matter. And again, this is an important thing here when the court has discretion over or versus when the court must do a thing. The court had discretion. The court can use that discretion, and appellate courts aren't keen on overturning something unless there's an abuse of discretion. And prosecution is saying, hey, court did not abuse its discretion. The case was over 4.5 years old because of the defendant's issues with multiple prior attorneys, issues created by her behavior. The underlying work on the defense of self-defense and battered spouse syndrome evidence to be used in support of a claim of self-defense had been done by prior counsels, i.e., they did not have to start all over from scratch. So another continuance wasn't really necessary. Much of the records disclosed to the state in October 2024 had been acquired years ago by prior counsels via subpoena and provided to private investigator Billy Lane, which is basically, look, you had all this stuff. The other lawyers laid all the groundwork. It was all done. What do you need the continuance for? The Florida Supreme Court requires only 30 days notice prior to trial for a defendant to rely upon battered spouse syndrome evidence. In this circumstance, with the expert already working on the defendant's case for years and relying upon records the defendant had in her possession for years, it was the state that only had 30 days to handle this evidence. Good point. After prior counsel had indicated it would not be filing a notice of intent to rely on battered spouse syndrome evidence. Ooh. So, prior counsel said, battered spouse is not going to work. I guess Sarah didn't like that, because then she can't drag George through the mud, right? And so, if it's good enough for the state, which is what they're basically saying, then it should be good enough for the defense. And I'm going to, hang on a second, I'm just going to switch here and check and make sure that we haven't started. No, okay, soon. 10. While it did take time to review the entirety of the defendant's phone extraction, the state was able to do so in the same time frame and narrow it down to 167 pages of PDF timeline and 213 photos, videos. The phone extraction had been provided years ago to the defendant's prior counsel. It was again provided to the defendant while she was pro se. Basically, look, you had all of it for years. Then she had it. And we even gave it to you again, and we did the work of whittling it down so you didn't have to. So it's pointing out all the reasons why the claim of it's not fair by Owens is nonsense. Is there a line in here where he offers Owens a binky? Anyway, okay. The 911 calls and body-worn camera footage from the prior incidents took approximately a half day to review, and that was accomplished after it was learned on October 1st, 2024, during her deposition that Dr. Julie Harper relied on them. These were provided to the defense on October 4th, 2024. There was an entire week of no action taken by the court between October 7th, October 14th because of Hurricane Milton. That and the prior 5 weeks was more than sufficient for a team of 4 attorneys and a trial consultant to review the material if the undersigned could. Look, I did it. I'm by myself, and I did it. What, all 4 of you combined can't? 11. The court should not grant a new trial based upon this ground. And I am going to switch again and check. Nothing going on. I'm going to check the chat. Oh, you guys are still talking about her. Okay. Go back to this document. During the ground 3, homicide survivor outburst during presentation of evidence. Yeah, this one made me mad. During the publishing of the exhibit, which contained the image, the video, right? Apparently, a single family member of the homicide survivors had an emotional reaction and left the courtroom. The undersigned's back was turned and did not witness this. The family member did not return for the duration of the evidence presentation. It cannot be said that this non-verbal, single emotional outburst was so prejudicial so as to vitiate the entire trial. And he states case law, where they said a single outburst by a victim during the trial did not vitiate the entire trial. The trial court's findings on this situation are subject to an abuse of discretion standard, and the court did not abuse its discretion. The undersigned's recollection is that at sidebar, there was no request for a curative instruction. Very good. We wondered about that, right? No request for a curative instruction, but rather a request to excuse the jury. The jury was excused, and the member of the victim's family had either excused herself or then excused herself. The allegation was then made that this was intentionally staged by the state. This is just maddening. It was neither intentional nor is it uncommon that a homicide survivor who has a right to be in the courtroom pursuant to Article 1, Section 16 of the Florida Constitution was mistaken in his or her belief about his or her ability to not become emotional during a trial. Yeah, that was his mom. I mean, if you're the mom, you want to see, you want to know, and how are you not emotional, even if you think you can handle it, right? And he distinguishes a case here that was cited. He says in that case, the victim deliberately testified about DNA evidence on her buttocks belonging to the defendant, when in fact that was not the conclusion of the DNA analyst, whose findings were inconclusive as to the identity of the evidence found on what? Okay, so I think I'd need to cross-reference this with the original motion. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to have to cross-reference that to understand what they're talking about there, because that one went over my head. Okay. Cullen versus State is also distinguishable as it involves the mother of a S battery victim apparently needlessly being shown a picture of her daughter's V and throwing up in a trash can in the presence of a jury. There, a mistrial should have been granted. Smith versus State involved a case where the medical examiner took a breath while testifying to the injuries the decedent had sustained and asked for a break. No error was found in the trial court's decision to not grant a mistrial. Man, they asked for mistrials for everything. Yes, there somebody in the chat saying, what are they talking? They're talking about case law. And so when the prosecution is saying this is distinguishable, I wanted to cross reference to what the defense had said, but I don't have that document right here, which is why I'm not. It's on? Okay, hang on a sec. What you saying it's on? Oh, okay. No. Uh no, it hasn't. I'm looking at it, Ms. Jackstar. I'm looking at it. Unless okay, I'm gonna check a different. I'll check somewhere else. But let's see. No, it says coming up. So that's okay. Somebody's saying, "Oh, sorry, I'm wrong." No, that's okay, because it was supposed to start 7 minutes ago, and I'm reading this document, so it's hard for me to watch. So you know what? Should I keep going on this document or skip over the case law? I have a feeling it's going to start like any second now. Ms. Jacksar says, sorry, following the crowd. That's okay. That's okay. I did too. I stopped everything. What? It's on. I don't want to miss a minute. The Bumbles says Sarah is somewhere throwing a fit. Yeah. Victoria Bean says, I would rather wait live. Not sure what that means. J Max says, I hope she doesn't speak on her own behalf. Yeah, but I think she's gonna. Hey, Frauke. YouTube is saying YouTube doesn't eat your comments anymore. That's good. Linda says, can't believe I'm so anxious. I've been waiting for this for so long. I think it's Sarah who's probably real anxious right now. Hello, Australia. The Silver Leaf is asking a question, and I'm interested in what you think. Silverleaf is asking, if you were one of the jurors, would you come today to see the sentence? Okay, so we have... Ooh! I hope you didn't hear that sound check that they did, because it was very high-pitched. Romeo Saint says yes. Yeah, some people are saying, yes, if I was a juror, I'd be invested. Kim says she would. Yeah, I think I would want to. I would want to. I've got the count queued up, for the years and days. If I forget to put them on, remind me. Candy says Sarah's got to be eaten up with anger that she didn't take the deal. I don't think so. I think, I don't think so. I think she thinks it's all unfair. Jay-Z says, I bet juror number 3 is there. Is that the juror who said guilty before he was even asked? He was very emphatic. I am very eager to hear what Judge Cranick has to say in all of this. Penny says, loved juror number 3. Romeo says, I'd bring popcorn in a little bag. Yeah, you might get thrown out for that. Buffy says, yeah, the guy who yelled yes. Yeah. Cindy Cindy said, I think Sarah doesn't think that there was anything wrong about her choices. I agree. She thinks she's right. Momo, you made sandwiches for this? Romeo says, yeah, I'd be in trouble for bringing popcorn. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's different in Florida courts, but here you have to take off your hat. You can't have any food or drink, not even water in the courtroom, unless you're at counsel table. If you're working, then you can have water, but you couldn't have coffee. I think I told you guys a story about the lawyer putting the coffee in the briefcase and then forgetting that it was there. Hi, Barnabas. Oh, somebody brought Pop Tarts for the sentencing. Show Kitty says Satan Sarah's sentencing is an international event. Yeah. Romeo says, I didn't know that. Yeah, I've seen court clerks actually yell at people for wearing hats. You really, uh, you really can get in trouble. L. Lozareth says, I raise up my Pop Tarts to you. Terry says, I hope she does talk. Philip, yes, the sentencing is today. That's what we're here for. Yes, other people are in the chat are saying that they're looking forward to hearing what the judge has to say. Yes. Yes, someone says it's disrespectful to wear a hat in court. Yes. Up in Canada, we still wear robes. Not in provincial court, but in superior court, they wear robes. Diana is asking when it's starting. It is was supposed to have started about 14 minutes ago. Cat Y says Judge K deserves a special award for this trial. Yeah. Sonata number 8. Oh, nice name. Uh, and I missed the comment. I think it was something like she's going to reiterate not intentional. Oh, KD says, I think she'll try to use her child for leverage. Yeah. I bet you. I bet you she would. Right? Saying, oh, I need to keep my relationship when the relationship isn't great. I wonder if part of the pre-sentence report involves in Florida if they talk to family members. So I wonder if anyone's talked to the ex and the child. If anyone knows how it goes in Florida, let me know. Uh, Someone saying if she does use her son, it will not play well with the judge. I think so. He is no dummy, that's for sure. J Max says she used her child for everything. Yeah. In one of the body cam videos, the one where she said she didn't have keys to get in and she thought he was in there, she had the cops show up at Brian's house. It was the middle of the night and her son was up. She dragged him outside to see the cops, to say hi. I mean, who does that? Not the other Amber says, wonder if she'll say it's not fair. Oh, I'm sure that'll come up. I'm sure that'll come. Not fair. Didn't mean it. But what about I'm sorry? What about even acknowledging the pain and the suffering caused to the family? I think she hates them. I don't think she's sorry one little bit. And if she does apologize at all or attempt to, listen for the words. Listen for whether it's a real apology. Listen for the words, is she speaking in her own syntax? Romeo Saint says he started it. You think she's going to say that? Maybe. Lova Volcana says victim impacts are going to be hard. Yeah. Yeah. It was hard just watching, for us, just watching mom. I can't even imagine. I might purposely turn my emotions off during that so I'm not a blubbering mess. Melissa Anderson says 3 points back. Yeah. Gosh. Carrie says she's sorry she got caught. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that she put him in the suitcase thinking he was already gone. And when he woke up, it was like, oh, gee, now what? Oh, here we go. She's all smiles. You seeing this? Wow. What is she expecting? She's all happy. I'd be crapping myself. Wow. Ellie says she doesn't think she did anything wrong, so she won't make any apology. Yeah, I agree. I think she doesn't. I think she feels fully justified. Rita says she's getting her 100 pages ready. Yeah. Yeah, someone in the chat saying she still isn't taking this seriously. It's all, yeah. It's like it's all a big game. I'm sure she knows it's serious. I'm sure she's afraid, but she's very good at deluding herself. Moth's mummy says, cute chain belt. Yeah. Ah, family and friends here in the gallery. Candy saying, wonder what they're looking at on the phone. I don't know. We probably shouldn't be trying to look. Kirsten says she missed the attention at court. Maybe. Maybe. And part of the, I guess, punishment, in a way, retribution, is the fact that she will just kind of fade into obscurity. And for someone like her, that is a big problem. So she will do other things on the inside. Oh, I'm hearing sound. Melissa says Owens has told her the appeal will work out for her. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. Philip's asking, does she have a time limit on speaking? I don't know. I would be surprised if they made her keep it to a certain time. Cindy says she will write letters. I don't know if I am going to cover them. I don't know. I think she shouldn't be given the oxygen, you know, because there was somebody else who she didn't allow to have oxygen. CB says she has zero remorse and it's effing disgusting. Yep. Cindy says, I think she will get life. I don't know. I don't know. William Carl says zero humanity in this one. Yep. Yeah, she's not. She doesn't appear anxious on the outside. Marco Barco says she will relitigate the entire case in her statement. Yeah, I've seen that before too. Yeah, that is just the kind of thing that she will do. And I hope they cut her off if that happens, because this is about sentencing, not about relitigating or retrying the whole case in your statement. Some people are fanning over Mr. Cacciatore. No Soup for Youth thinks that she'll get maybe 30 to 35. And at her age, that is practically life. I think this sounds terrible, but she wasn't ever going to do anything with her life. Right? True Crime Boozer says he doesn't hurt my eyes, referring to Mr. Cacciatore, I think. Someone says I think he'll get 50, she'll get 50 plus. Yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately, Mr. Torres's children have a whole lifetime without their dad. Right? He didn't have the opportunity. Somebody says, sad for Mr. Owens is throwing away 37 years of a career to be attached to Sarah Boone forever. I'm not worried about him. I don't think he minds at all. I think he likes it. I think he's going to get something from it. He'll get something out of it. Oh, somebody said in the chat that they might be looking at Sarah's pre-sentence report on the phone. I wish the camera was in front of her instead of behind her too. Yeah, I want to see her face. Oh, hey, someone in the chat just said that Judge Kranick did a lot of his early work in family court. Interesting. So he's no stranger to the game playing that goes on there. Val says, I think she'll say she's sorry, but it'll be an act. I don't know. There's George's brother wearing the Ace t-shirt. Wow. Finally. Addie says, we don't need to see her face. She's smirking. She's always smirking. Hey, Sunny Days says Dr. Harper is in the gallery. Interesting. Huh. Diana says, I feel bad for her son. Yeah, me too. Me too. He was also a victim in all this. Frauke says, I can't see her saying that she's sorry. Yeah, Mama Torres is there too in the gallery. I wonder if Mom will make her own victim impact statement, or have somebody read it for her. True Crime Boozer says, courtroom looks so small. Apparently it is. So one of the community here went to one of Sarah's hearings and said that, yes, the courtroom is very small. Show Kitty says, I think Brian is moving them away after this. I think he already moved. Oh, Loba says, I fear she's going to accept any interviews. Hope journalists ignore her. Yes. Oh my gosh. Did anyone see Chelsea in the gallery? Sage says, poor critical thinking skills, no empathy. Society deserves to be protected from her. Yeah, I think it's more than that. You know, somebody could have poor critical thinking skills and still be a decent person. Her thinking or her focus is on what she can get. Oh, what's her sign says Sarah did try to stop them from moving in family court. Wow. So she's in jail. She doesn't want them to move and move on. Because what? She wants to have him drag the child to prison every day or every week to visit her when the child doesn't want to and has expressed that. How old is he now? He's got to be a teenager now, right? Pretty soon he won't be subject to his parents' preferences or rules. And I hope people leave Brian alone. He doesn't want anything to do with this. Oh, Diana says he's 14. Okay, he's 14 years old. Yeah, a few more years. I hope he can put all this behind him, at least to some extent. What the heck is she looking at? Hang on. These are, oh my gosh. These aren't typed pages. Look, they're 3-hole punched pages. So this is paper. It's probably her flipping notes. Well, today's going to be the last day, hopefully. Somebody says that the son grieved George's loss as well. Yes. Yes, he was very good with them. Jay-Z says that's what she's going to read. Oh, heaven help us. No. No. Oh, man. No, Jerome's laughing because I said last day. Elle says, yeah, Judge K having a final shot of whiskey to calm nerves. Yeah, I don't think he's nervous. I bet you Sarah would like some of that, though. The Silverleaf says she has more paperwork than Owens. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Once this is done, Owens is gone. She doesn't have him anymore. He's not going to keep on this case and keep fighting for her. Terry says Lucas was a victim long before George. Yes. Yes, he was. There's, I think, even if this hadn't happened, the child would have had lots to deal with growing up too, right? Those of you with parents like that know. Diana says she has daggers for George's family. I hope the judge stops her. Oh, I didn't catch that. I did not catch that. Did she give them a look? J Max says her free help is about to jump ship. Yeah, they did what they came to do, and that's it. They're not going to be your lifelong friend. Romeo's asking, do you think Sarah verbally and emotionally abused Lucas? I yeah. Yeah, I think I mean I don't think she would set out to do that. I mean most parents like that don't. But for sure. I mean look at the conditions he lived in. Look at I mean dragging him out in the middle of the night to say hi to the cops that she's calling. Yeah. You know, not being sober. The fighting in the home. Nancy says, is the lack of any remorse that would make me give her a huge sentence as a judge. Yeah. Somebody said, I think Sarah's still trying to abusc and manipulate her son from prison. Yeah. Yeah. Th- of course, this is who she is, right? Got any lip readers out there? Robert says Owens is her only fan. I don't think he's even a fan. I think he understands her, though. Oh, somebody, I think Frauke said, if all this hadn't happened, maybe Brian wouldn't have ever been able to break free from her controlling behavior. Somebody says she looks awful. Yeah, she does. I mean, age and jail will do that. Jessica is hoping that the judge lays into her appalling behavior. Yeah, me too. Yeah, she does look older than her age. She's younger than me. Hopefully, I don't look that old. Not as old as she does. Sup me says stress, yeah. Yeah, I think being in custody, being incarcerated is stressful. I don't think that. I know that. There's no question. Jenny, you think she's nervous. Yeah, she was all smiles when she came in, and now she's settled down. Oh, somebody pointed out if Brian hadn't seen how, if Brian had stayed with her, he would have been at risk. Yeah. Look, anybody with her is going to be at risk because anybody in a relationship with her, intimate or not, okay, is going to be subject to her behavior, to the way she assigns meaning, to the way she manipulates, and she does what she wants, regardless of how it hurts anybody. And if she has to hurt someone, heck, sometimes she likes to hurt people because it gives her a sense of power. She's a vengeful person. So, yeah, the public is at risk or would be at risk if she was out. Now, somebody says no sun. She's had no sunshine. Carrie says, "Is there really going to be a retrial?" I don't think so. I think that would be one heck of a stretch. But you, when you're a lawyer, a defense lawyer, if there is any kind of ground you can come up with, you do that, right? You ask. So no one can say that you failed to ask. Roz says, unintentional is my bingo word in her apology. Yeah. Mari says, she seems mad. Well, she's kind of always mad, isn't she? Melissa, packed courtroom. Yeah. It's a small room, though. Ms. Jackstar is saying that Chelsea is there, but you haven't seen Scott. Jane says jail hasn't tumbled her. No. She's not going to, I don't think she's going to change. This is who she is. Teddy Bear Ears says, expecting, dreading that her statements are going to be long winded like her letters. Oh, if she does that, and if it's long winded, we're just going to play with that, okay? Right? You guys and me, we are going to play with it the way we play with our letters. I know this is serious. It's important. Somebody is going away, going to jail for a long time. Somebody has lost their life. There's a family grieving. All of that is important. And, when I make fun, I'm not minimizing or disrespecting any of that. It all matters. But, sometimes nonsense is nonsense, and you just got to make fun of the nonsense. Makes it a little more palatable or tolerable. J Max says Crane it can set a time limit. Yeah, I wonder though if he really would, right? Here we go.
Good afternoon. Bill, can we see? Thank you.
I know if I start commenting on anything, he'll talk and I'll be interrupting. Yes, this is live. Somebody's asking.
Yeah, case.
Calling State of Florida versus Sarah Boone, 2020 CF 2603, State.
Dean Cacciatore on behalf of the state.
Defense.
William J. for the state.
Defense.
James Owens for Sarah Boone.
Ms. Boone is seated at counsel's table. Ma'am, if you could please raise your right hand, Madam Clerk's going to go ahead and swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Ma'am, can you state your full name and date of birth for the record for us?
Sarah Boone, 10-10-7-7.
We are here for a sentencing. The jury returned a verdict on October 25, finding you, Ms. Boone, guilty of murder in the second degree. We're running a little bit late this afternoon. I apologize for that. I was in court all morning and took the opportunity to review all of your submittals from earlier this morning, Mr. Owens, including the victim or the character statements, the psychological evaluation by Dr. Harper, the motion for downward departure, the motion for new trial, and the state's response to same. Before we proceed with any sentencing in this matter, the court needs to address the defendant's motion for new trial and the state's response to the defendant's motion for new trial. Anything in addition you'd like to argue at this time, Mr. Owens, over and above what is contained in your motion, sir?
No, sir.
State.
No, sir.
All right. After reviewing the motion and the state's response to same, the defendant's motion for a new trial is denied. Based on the court's review of the record, the court's participation in the trial, and the review of all the evidence, and the court's prior findings and rulings at trial and prior thereto. With that, I believe that we're prepared to proceed with sentencing at this time. The court has reviewed the pre-sentencing investigation prepared by the Department of Corrections. Are there any housekeeping matters that we need to address, Mr. J. or Mr. Cacciatore, before we proceed?
Not from the state.
Are there any housekeeping matters from your side of the ledger, sir, that we need to address, Mr. Owens?
Judge, I do have 4 lay witnesses that are going to testify. I've got Dr. Harper here to testify. Of course, my client's going to testify. But one of the 4 lay witnesses wants to appear by Zoom. She lives up in Minnesota. I don't know if that's allowed.
We don't have an objection to that. One of our witnesses will be.
So one of his witnesses wants to appear by Zoom, and Owens is just now, like during this, telling the judge, so somebody has to scramble to make this happen? Good gracious.
Providing an impact statement would also like to appear on the court's virtual link as well.
Okay, so stipulated. If you need it, just let Anita know, and I can have her email it to you right now, the link.
We do have the link. She's waiting to get on, I guess.
Who might it be, sir? Of several people.
It should be Lana Albert.
She is here, sir. She's in the, she's viewing her camera's off and she's, microphone is muted, but she's in the lobby. All right, with that, State, you may proceed.
Your Honor, at this time, we would like to take an impact statement from, I believe, Anna Torres, which you will be appearing virtually.
I see several guests, but I do not see a Anna Torres in the virtual lobby, sir.
Well, I think while maybe she's having some issue with logging on, we have also in-person witnesses.
We can proceed with those first, sir.
Please call Anna Torres.
Please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I wish Sarah had to face her, but she doesn't.
Yes.
Ma'am, good afternoon. Could you state and spell your name for the record for us?
My name is Blanca Torres.
Okay. Ma'am, you can go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Okay, look. I just want to tell Sarah Boone that I don't hate her for what she did. And I always remember that evening when that lady came into my door and she knocked at the door. And she asked for my name. I tell her my name. And then she said, "Can I come in?" I said, "Okay, yes." And she told me to sit down. I never think that was going to be my son. And then she said my son was dead. Since that day, I can't sleep. It's hard for me to remember that moment. My son is not here no more. She don't only kill my son, she killed a father, a brother, an uncle. It's been hard. I'm a family because all the brothers, they will always work together. But now it's like something real. Love is missing. Sometimes when I look out the window, I'm waiting for him to come and say, "Mom, I love you." She was always there. She called and called me. I missed us, Mommy. The last time that I talked to him was at 12 o'clock in January, New Year. He came to my bed and said, "Mom." He woke me up and I said, "Mom, I love you. Happy New Year." Since that day, I don't see him no more. He was my son. I love him. And I miss him a lot. My family miss him a lot too. But I don't hurt her. But you know what? I was blessed. She ain't gonna be blessed like me because I have my son. I raised him. I have his children, my granddaughter, my grandson, and she don't gonna be able to have that. And I did. I raised him. He wasn't perfect. but he wasn't a good son. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. State anything further?
Wow. Moms and kids, they get me every time. That was a zinger from Mom. Good for her. I was blessed. I got to raise my son, and she says he's not perfect. And good for her, right? But he was my son. And I have grandchildren, and I was blessed. I got to raise him. Sarah Boone is not going to have that. She's not going to have that with her son, with her grandchildren. Good. It's a good point. I'm really glad that she said it.
From this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
No, sir.
Thank you. You may call your next victim impact statement.
Victoria Torres.
This is the daughter, one of the daughters.
Do solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Ma'am, could you state and spell your name for the record for us, please?
Victoria Torres. My name is Victoria Torres. George is my brother.
Oh, wrong, brother.
Unfortunately, my family has experienced two horrifying tragedies.
Sorry, guys. I want to correct that. She just said that Mr. Torres is her brother.
I just want to make it clear that George deserves justice. As far as my other brother and Sarah deserve to rot in jail. Sarah has caused a lifetime of pain, a lifetime of horrible images, a lifetime of hearing my brother George plead for his life. This is just this moment for all of you. For me and my family, it's forever. Such a simple thing as using a suitcase is so triggering. I try not to close it all the way. I leave at least like 2 or 3 inches for the zipper. And it might sound crazy, but it just helps me. She really has flipped my family's life upside down. And I just hope that we can truly get justice for my brother. And I just want to tell the team thank you so much for everything they did. Thank you.
Thank you. State anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes.
Thank you.
Wow. She brings up a good point. Well, actually, a number of good points. One is the sounds and the images that will play in their heads forever. You remember when I wouldn't play the suitcase video on my channel? This is an example of why. Because that family watched and heard the images and the sounds, and that will never leave them. They'll never get that out of their heads. And this business of being able to use a suitcase, I hadn't thought of that. But wow, every time you see a suitcase, every time you use a suitcase, you're going to be thinking about that, right? It's going to bring up the grief again. And she points out something that a lot of survivors say, which is basically they have a life sentence. So a criminal does something and they get 10 years, 15, 20, 25, whatever the time is. But the victim has a life sentence. And I think that's important because it wasn't just Mr. Torres that she harmed. It was everybody who cared about him. It was the community. It was everybody. Oh, somebody in the chat pointed out, and Sarah had no problem handling the suitcase in court. Yeah. Yeah.
Your Honor, could we see if Ms. Anna Torres has been able to make it online?
Do not see an Anna Torres in the lobby, sir. I have lots of guests, HHSA, Mr. Beck, Lana Albert, Jason Gunn.
Frauke says even if he was someone no one cared about, it would still matter.
The number of
Yeah.
individuals.
Not to my knowledge.
Could we just have just a moment?
Yes.
I think it's going to be a shame if she can't give her statement. She's supposed to give her victim impact via Zoom, and they're not seeing her in that Zoom lobby area. Never seen shame from Sarah. Someone saying, just with the short victim impact statements, I've probably shed more tears for George's family than she has ever had for George. Yeah. Yeah. Chris says shame is an emotion of higher animals. I don't think there are words in existence in any language that could adequately convey what it is to lose a child, especially in this way. I think we're a little behind. I want to fast forward, but I'm afraid I'll miss something. The
Yes,
beautiful.
sir, Mr. Cacciatore.
Your Honor, after speaking with Mr. Owens, given the fact that the victim's daughter is having difficulties with
Is that her, Anna Victoria Torres?
Yes, sir.
Is that it? Is that who it is? All right, ma'am, good afternoon. Can you hear us?
Good afternoon. I can hear you.
Okay, could you please state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Anna Victoria Torres, ANAVICTORIA
All right, thank you, ma'am. I understand that you'd like to provide a statement to the court at this time. You may proceed.
Okay. Okay. So I'll be speaking for myself and my two siblings. The murder of our father has impacted us on so many levels and in different ways. I myself, for the first year, would wake up screaming every morning or night, wishing I was having a nightmare, only to wake up to remember all over again that my father is gone and I'll never be able to hear him say he loves me ever again. To know my siblings have been affected in such a way that they are now different. They have had a piece of their heart ripped away from them, all while her son gets to hear his mother's voice and see her alive is pathetic. Because of you, Sarah, my sister is heartbroken. Because of you, Sarah, my brother is left wondering when he will ever see his father again. The loss of my father has left me with chronic depression and anxiety. Seeing any moments of fatherly love or kindness being shown between others in real life or even on TV leaves me in complete shambles. Seeking therapy was a must in order to navigate through my workday without a random breakdown. Thoughts of my father's demise still enter my mind ever so often. I'm left either angry, sad, or sick to my stomach to think of how his final moments were. Jorge Torres, my incredible father. Not only was he my father, but my best friend. My personal comic provided me with wisdom and knowledge, creative and loving dad, an older brother, an uncle, a cousin, a friend, a son, and above all, our father. He was human and deserved to be treated as such. My father, Jorge Torres, was one of a kind, an absolute gem. Unfortunately, his light was dimmed on earth by evilness, but with us, we will forever make his name live on. Especially Sarah, I pray that you see his face when you see him at night. That is it.
Thank you. Anything further, State?
No, Your Honor.
Anything further of this witness?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, ma'am. State,
Thank you.
anything further?
No other impact statements, Your Honor.
Hold on. Sorry, guys. What is going on in the chat? What? I missed something? And it looks like something I need to deal with. So somebody let me know. Is the person causing the problem still there? Right? Okay, so Frauke's saying I don't see anyone being offensive. Is everything okay? Because I just saw somebody call somebody a name and I couldn't get it fast enough to delete it. Oh, Show Kitties is saying Christina doesn't think George is deserving of love. That is not what she said. That's not what she said. Unless I totally missed it. Okay, so... All right, Katie's saying everything's fine. Okay. They went quiet in the chat. Okay, yeah. No, I mean, this is why we can't have nice things. No silly stuff or no nasty stuff in the chat. All right, we will go back to the sentencing. Sorry to everybody else.
Thank you. Any other witnesses or evidence at this point in time state?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Owens, you may proceed, sir.
Ms. Diane Smith. Judge, what do you want, Lee?
I have no issue with her being at the podium. If you want to move about the well to conduct your examination, that's fine, counselor. Ma'am, come on up. Come on up to this podium right here, ma'am. If you could, raise your right hand. Madam Clerk's going to go ahead and swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All right. Ma'am, could you state and spell your name for the record for us, please?
Diane Smith, Diane Smith.
Okay, thank you very much. Counselor, you may.
Oh, for pity's sakes. Okay, I'm seeing the chat and I'm seeing what the problem is. And I do think people are misunderstanding what Show Kitties is saying. What the person is saying is, I didn't get love. That is basically what they're saying. Can we stop fighting over that? Because I'm going to have to stop everything. And it sucks for everybody else who's not like being like this. Just drop it, okay? Move on or leave. If you can't, if you have to like get on, bite each other's backs, go. This isn't the chat for you.
Inquire.
And Ms. Smith, tell the court a little bit about you.
I was a chaplain at the 33rd Street Jail for 30 years.
And have you been a chaplain at the jail here in Orange County?
Yes, Orange County Jail
Is that the same
for
jail
30
you're
years.
referring to? Okay. And during that period of time, did you have occasion to meet with Sarah Boone?
I did.
And was it over the course of how long?
I've known her 4 years.
And if you could, tell the court what you'd like to say.
Okay. Well, I first met Sarah. She came in. We have a Christian dorm, and Sarah enrolled in our Christian program. And she was in my classes for a year. And she was very sincere in her efforts to change her life and to be a better person. And I found her very helpful. She was kind and good to people. She loved to serve. And she helped the new girls that would come in, the younger girls. She would mother them and be very kind and very helpful. And then after she graduated from the program, I was her counselor for the other 3 years. And I always found her, very sincere and, trying to do better. I spoke with many inmates that knew her and was associated with her. And they spoke very highly of her and said that, she was helpful and kind and tried to help other people. And I just found her to be, very sincere and trying to be a very good person and change and help people.
Was the Bible involved at all?
Oh, yes, it was all spiritual. Yes, it was spiritual growth plus character, growth in character, trying to just be a better person in general. She liked to serve other people, she would help the girls wash their clothes and show them around and teach. But spiritually, she grew very, very great spiritually.
Thank you.
Hang on, ma'am.
I want to address some of this. So this is, first of all, this chaplain has not seen her behavior on the outside, and how somebody is on the inside is different from how they are on the outside. So she's not seeing the true Sarah. Also, this business of being a better person, trying to be a better person, I can't count how many times I've heard somebody say, "Your Honor, I've turned over a new leaf." And they're exactly the same. And what better is she? What character trait is better? Demonstrate or explain what precisely is better. Being a better person. What is that? You're not using substances? Is that it? You reading your Bible? Look, was it C.S. Lewis said, standing in your car, in your garage doesn't make you a car. going to church doesn't make you a Christian. So, can't tell you how many times I've heard inmates say, oh, yeah, turned over a new leaf, or they use religion or counseling or whatever to make themselves look good. And I want to point out, nice is a behavior, not a character trait. Helpful is a behavior, not a character trait. Sarah continued to show us who she was throughout all of this time. So,
Just 1 second.
Ma'am?
Hang on just 1 second, Ms. Smith. State any questions.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you.
I'd like to call Christina Pena. This one here.
Yeah, it's fine, Counselor. Thank you. Ma'am, come on up if you can. Raise your right hand. Madam Clerk's going to go ahead and swear you in.
Do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Ma'am, if you could state and spell your name for the record for us.
Christina Pena, Christina Pena.
All right. You may inquire, sir.
Ms. Pena, how old are you?
31,
And where do you live?
Orlando.
Now, it's my understanding, Ms. Pena, that you were in the county jail with Sarah Boone.
Yes.
How long were y'all in the same cell together?
Yes. I was in there for 4 years, but we were together for 3.
Okay.
sorry, I'm trying not to interrupt these, but this one I want to. Because you notice she's got her hands behind her. So the judge can't see, but she's adapting like crazy back there with her hands moving, and she's trying to soothe herself. She's very uncomfortable.
And I understand ultimately the charges against you were dismissed. And so you were released on what day?
April 4th this year.
2024?
2023.
2023. So you've been out for a pretty while.
I've been out for like 6 or so months now. Yeah, since April of this year, actually. Sorry.
April of 2024. And you said y'all were bunkmates there together for about 3 years.
Yeah.
I would assume that y'all got to know each other pretty well.
We did.
Okay. And if you could, if you'd like to speak on her behalf to the judge.
Yes. Sarah's one of my best friends, my only.
Take your time.
She's helped me with a lot. Spiritually and like growing, and she helps everybody. She's always, I don't know, spirit. She helped me a lot, and she would come to me. She talked to me all the time and pick me up when I was down, or if I didn't know something. She's good. I don't know. She was a good person to me. Mistakes happen. She always helped. She always helped people. She was always helping everybody in the dorm. She, even like her artwork, she did art. If anybody needed any help or needed anything, they'd come to her and she'd help them. And even if they, did wrong to her, she would still go back and help them and praise with them and pray over them and everything. It's just.
And was she a little bit older than you?
Yeah.
How much older was she?
I'm seeing this young woman as a vulnerable woman, vulnerable to ploys such as somebody being a mentor. And isn't that the kind of relationship that Sarah likes? The savior martyr thing, right? Isn't that the kind of thing that Sarah would go for or cultivate, like she did with Mr. Torres? I'm the one who's organized. I'm the one who knows everything. I have the answers. I will direct our activities. I will help you become a better person, just like she tried to help Mr. Torres become a better person. That's her game. And she has actually picked this young woman here, and you can hear the emotion in her voice. She's struggling. Here's a young woman who obviously has some issues in life, right? Obviously wants to change and sees Sarah as some sort of a mentor or help her, and is now grateful. And isn't this young woman just ripe to be exploited by someone like Sarah Boone? So we're not seeing here, in my opinion, we're not seeing here Sarah being wonderful and helpful. We're seeing Sarah play her predatory game. She's just got a new target.
40 in her 40s.
Did you think of her as maybe an aunt or a big sister?
A big sister, yeah. She was like a big sister. Like a sister I never had. Because I have brothers, so I never, we clicked right away. I don't know. We'd be walking out in the backyard, and she just would always try and talk to me, but I'm a quiet person, and I don't trust a lot of people. So for me to open up and trust somebody, it's a lot. So.
And obviously y'all were there under difficult circumstances. Did she assist you in getting through that?
Yes, and she helped me a lot with my case, and I would help her with hers too. We're both. Justice is not what it is. I don't know how.
Bless you.
We both helped each other out. I don't know.
Ms. Danielle, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any questions, State?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you.
Ms. Hill? Judge.
Yes, sir.
After Ms. Hill, I want to take Ms. Albert.
Yes, sir.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Ma'am, good afternoon. Could you state and spell your name for the record for us?
My name is Mariela Hill, Mariela, last name Hill, Hill.
Thank you. You may proceed, sir.
Ms. Hill, briefly tell us a little bit about yourself.
I met Sarah in jail. I spent 3 months in jail and went through a lot of unfortunate circumstances myself.
All right. Now, this was in the Orange County Jail here in Orlando?
Orange County Jail.
And when would that have been? Do you recall the dates?
Yes, it was April, from April to June of this year.
Of this year,
2024.
2024.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And did you develop a relationship with Sarah Boone over the course of that 3 months?
Yes. Yes, we met when I was moved to the B dorm, and I needed help with a form that I needed to complete, and one of the COs pointed to Sarah to help me out. And since that moment, we became really good friends, and she was so helpful, so kind, so respectful, and loving, not just to me, but to everyone. And I have nothing.
Listening to this, you know what keeps coming into my head? That video that Sarah took of George, coaching him on what to say to the judge. That's what keeps coming in my head. And hearing him say, angel.
Nothing but good things to say about her, her character, her loving heart, and how deep her faith is, her faith in God, and believing in justice for everyone. That's what I believe.
State any questions?
So I don't know if you could hear that. What she said was, she remarked on Sarah's deep faith in God and wanting how she wants justice for everyone. So we're back to the savior murder thing, right? We're back to the Sarah has to be sort of raised above everyone else. And I'm telling you, I mean, those of you who grew up in the church, or if there are any pastors' kids out there, you know that people can act pious and act like they have deep faith, and they do not. It's a ploy, it's a front, a facade. Sometimes it's even a game. It's ego, super ego. I mean, didn't Dennis Rader, wasn't he a deacon in his church? And that's how he got caught? Because he sent something like from their computers, right? BTK was a deacon in the church. So what? So deep faith, according to her, and once again, nice to everyone, helping everyone. So again, it's the same game.
No, John.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hill. I appreciate it. Ms. Albert, good afternoon, ma'am. Can you hear me? This is Judge Kranick. And if you can, I would ask you to turn on your camera and unmute yourself at this time, please.
Sir, how do I unmute turn on my camera? I know how to unmute, but I'm not sure how to turn the camera on.
Turn the volume down.
So, ma'am,
Is that better?
when you join the link, there should have been an option for like a pull down on the left-hand side of the screen for you to open on or turn on a camera. I don't know what device you're appearing on, if it's a cell phone or a laptop.
It is an iPhone. Should I try to re-enter the room?
Yeah, try to do that. There should be an option for you to pick a camera. You'll either select the default camera, and hopefully we'll be able to see you at that time.
Okay, let me just give me 1 second.
Sure.
And to faith, this deep faith in God, what about remorse? What about taking responsibility? What about loving one another and compassion? Has she shown any of those fruits? Right? Since she's been in custody? Nah. It's all still about her.
Did that work? Can you see me?
I cannot.
Shoot. Yeah, it's saying default camera. It's saying front camera. I chose it. It didn't show my face or anything like that.
Why does he need to show his face? Just let him talk, man.
My technological skills are limited. State?
I have no objection to the witness making their statement here telephonically.
Okay, appreciate it. All right, Miss Albert, good afternoon. If you could just state and spell your name for the record for us, please.
Certainly. Lana, Lana, Albert, Albert.
Okay. All right, Mr. Owens is going to ask you some questions. And if you could just answer them, ma'am, I would greatly appreciate it. Sir, you can proceed.
Miss Albert, do you have the ability to turn your volume down?
Yes, I just did. I can't hear you very well when I do that, though.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you, but very, very quietly.
How about now?
Yes, I can hear you. Am I okay?
Yeah, you sound a lot better. You were too loud earlier.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
All right, Miss Albert, tell the court a little bit about yourself briefly.
Well, I live in Minnesota. I currently have end-stage renal disease. Before I became disabled, I was a business owner in the Twin Cities here.
All right, and how old are you?
I am 50 years old.
All right, and you're considered disabled?
Yes, I am.
All right. And have you had an occasion since this event to establish a relationship with Sarah Boone?
Yes, I have. We have been friends for the past a little over 11 months.
And how do y'all communicate?
We've communicated a lot of phone calls, lots of tablet,
11 months, meaning after she was incarcerated. Where is everybody who says that she was her whole life a straight A student and a wonderful person and this is just a blip? No one? Oh, yeah, right.
back and forth, and a lot of letters as well. I'd say many hours of time spent with each other.
All right, and do you want to speak on her behalf here today?
I would, please.
All right, would you please tell the court what you would like for the court to know?
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Your Honor, for the privilege of speaking on behalf of my friend Sarah Boone. I also want to extend my heartfelt condolences to everyone here affected by this terrible tragedy, which has brought us all here and listening in. Many articles and videos and opinions of Sarah have gone out in the airways and on the webs. Opinions that have been formed and commented.
Oh my God. I don't even want to hear it, pal or lady, whatever. I don't want to hear it. Because this is going to be all about, well, the unfair media. Good heavens. I thought we were beyond this, but yeah, I forget. It's Sarah Boone. Oh my gosh.
Commented on so much that it's hard not to give into the temptation to treat people like a comic book or a fictional character.
No, she's not a comic book or a fictional character. She's a real live villain. A real one. And there were real consequences.
In the case of my friend Sarah, the words narcissist, Karen, villain, many other things, they roll off the tongue with.
Yeah, Karen and villain. Yep. They fit. This isn't a caricature. This is who she is. This is who she is. So, you disagree, friend who has known her for 11 months after she killed somebody? What?
With little regard to the humanity that is dismissed so flippantly. And under a lot of circumstances, I was one of those people, as I have a love of true crime. And becoming friends with Sarah has shown me that there's a lot more depth to the people I see on the screen. I'd like to share with the world and with the court about the Sarah Boone that I know. Sarah Boone is a kind, honest, and good person. The Sarah Boone.
Okay, now, witness, you're lying. Is Sarah kind? Well, perhaps she could act nice to get what she wants. We've seen that. But honest? No. Proven lies over and over and over. Proven. This isn't speculation. This isn't hyperbole. This isn't, an interpretation of something. Proven in her own words. So, you just sat here, witness, saying, oh, she's honest. You just blew your credibility out of the water. Sorry for interrupting. Well, actually, I'm not really sorry because this is poppycock.
I know is one who loves animals, especially the kind who are damaged and defenseless. How many of us would take in and
loves animals? Remember the video she was coaching George in about how she would stop in the road and pick up a poor dog, blah, 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 right?
pour love for a hearing impaired and a sight impaired pair of dogs. She has a natural instinct to help reach out and give of herself, her time and energy and love, especially to those who are hurting or damaged. You all have seen her fight for her own life and truth here. I tell you this, she fights even harder for those she loves, giving time, attention, and companionship without a single thought for her own gain or what somebody can do for her.
She fights for those she loves? Really? What message does that send to her son, who she couldn't be bothered with if she was busy having too much to drink, or if she was too tired, if she wasn't going to pick him up. What? That's fighting for somebody she loves, or did she not love him? Fighting for someone she loves. What about Mr. Torres and what she did to him? What? What about Brian, who she used and abused?
And one huge example is in the matter of our friendship. As I said before, I have end-stage renal disease caused by a genetic illness called polycystic kidney disease. As my life has progressed, things I have taken for granted have been taken away from me. I could not appear in court in person because I can no longer walk, as my dialysis treatments have affected the circulation of my legs and has confined me to a wheelchair. To say that my life has radically changed is an understatement. Through it all, I have many friends and family I love and cherish. Sarah has distinguished herself differently in this way. In the course of getting to know her, I started sharing the progressing state of my health. It was like lightning had struck her. The moment Sarah had learned the depth of my struggles health-wise, she straight up offered strenuously to donate a kidney to me. I got to tell you this. I hope she's not mad for me showing this, but she had no hesitation, no concern over personal risk or personal gain. I want to convey to this, out and around the world, that is merely offering is a good and heroic act. I've had many friends. I've not had one outside of my brother who has offered me a kidney. That is huge. I don't have anything of equal value to give to her. And that's not the actions of a narcissist. She did it as a reflex action, as a good person.
Wow. Somebody asked in the chat if he's putting money in her commissary. That's a good question, because maybe that is happening, or maybe Sarah's in the will. Who knows, right? But this person is seeing what they want to see. Sarah did this as a reflex action. Well, you don't know that. What tells you that? This is something else.
After the verdict came in October, we spoke that night. And I hope Sarah doesn't get mad at me again for disclosing this, but out of all the shock and seriousness of what had happened in the court, the thing that made her emotionally break was that she realized she could no longer be a donor to me. I mean, I was sitting there like, hey, it's going to be okay. But she was so broken up, she couldn't help me. That's a friend. She is not, nor does she come up anywhere remotely close to being a narcissist. And one more thing before I go.
So this person says she doesn't remotely come close to being a narcissist, except actual professionals who know their stuff say differently. So do you think maybe this person has been duped? Right? Another one?
Social media has worked to rip the blindfold off of Lady Justice, to take the sword out of her right hand and start assassinating Sarah's character. However, the scales are the balance. As it says in Psalm 85, mercy and truth are met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Justice isn't justice without mercy. Our pursuit of righteousness isn't complete and right without peace. Thank you, Your Honor, for the honor of speaking for my friend Sarah Boone. I hope that your justice is mixed with mercy here today. Thank you.
Somebody in the chat said, the moment you crossed her, she'd demand her kidney back. Yeah. That's if she ever really actually followed through on it. I think she offered knowing she wouldn't have to follow through.
State, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Any follow-up, Mr. Owens?
No, Judge.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Albert. I appreciate you.
I'd like to call Dr. Harper. You want her on the stand, or?
I'm okay with her on the stand.
On the stand?
No, she can be right now. Yes, sir.
want to see Kevin.
Judge, you want her on the podium?
No, she'd be at the podium.
Misunderstood.
That's fine. Doctor, good afternoon. If you could please raise your right hand. Madam Clerk's going to go ahead and swear you in.
Do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
If you could, Doctor, state and spell your name for the record for us, please.
Dr. Julie Harper, Julieharper.
All right, thank you. Counsel, you may inquire.
And Dr. Harper, we all know we were here a few weeks back for the trial, and your testimony, so the judge knows quite a bit about your testimony, but if you could, I know that you prepared a report, and we have submitted that to the court, which the court has read, and the state has a copy. And I don't know if you want to refer to that or just speak on your own about Sarah Boone and what you did to assess her, and then any opinions that you want to express.
All right. I think that during trial time,
This is weird to me. And the reason this is weird is because this doctor was called by the defense during the trial as an expert witness. And as such, she gave her opinions on the stand at the trial. If she is retained to provide additional information for sentencing, then why is that not in writing in the form of a report and submitted as part of the pre-sentencing package? This is strange to me that she should be speaking. I do note that I noticed during the trial, we watched this doctor, and she is qualified. We watched her flip from being an expert witness, an assessor, to an advocate. And they are very different things. So the presence of her here just sort of adds to that. Very strange.
testimony, I reviewed all of the documents, excuse me, and all of the records that were available. They're documented in my report as well. In addition to the forensic clinical interviews that I conducted, I also have had the opportunity to talk to her brother, Philip Paulson, in the interim since the trial, and I included his information in my report as to her family background.
If you could, give the court a synopsis of what your findings are, and what you uncovered maybe from the brother, whatever you think the court needs to hear this relevant material to his decision in this case.
So she's saying she gave a report, and Owens is asking her to give a synopsis. Why? Why the crap? Give it to the judge. He'll read it. Like, what is this?
Referring to the summary section of my report, I'll keep it a brief, but I'll outline the highlights that I feel like haven't been conveyed before, which is an understanding of Ms. Boone's early family life, in that she is the middle child of her parents' union, and that her parents did not have a happy marriage. They didn't provide an opportunity to have a good role model as to how to have a partnership together. Ms. Boone was born in close proximity to her youngest brother, 11 months apart. And in my clinical experience and training, I would say that that disrupted her attachment with her mother, some being close in proximity with her younger brother, whose temperament just seemed to suit a relationship with her mother better than her own. So ultimately, Ms. Boone bonded with her father, though he wasn't described by either child as an affectionate person. He was somebody that was there for her at sporting events and more of a primary parent for her in that way. His untimely death by heart attack during her high school years was marked by her brother as a turning point for her in how she was acting at home. Her demeanor, her relationship with her mother took a turn for the worse as she was not coping well. She was using substances based on what her brother was saying, And it is my opinion that that early lack of foundational relations with her mom and not feeling very secure, the death of her father, destabilized her. That's a period of your life when you're leaving high school, when you should have formed a very solid foundation to go out in the world. And I don't think that that's what she had at that moment. She bonded easily with Mr. Boone, and you can see that there are elements of that early difficulty with her relationships because she took on a parentified role, in my opinion, during that relationship. And therefore, there's a power imbalance in that she was making decisions and not, again, having an equal relationship. I think that that led her to a sense of being a need to be right, a need to feel like she is the one that's making good decisions, to have some ego support by being in the right all the time with Mr. Boone. And I think that that led to some behaviors that she carried over into her relationship with Mr. Torres, in that she's parentified around him and acting more like a parent-child relationship.
Okay. Okay, so even if you want to buy this, and I'm not a psychologist, so let's say we buy this parentification. Okay, lots of kids go through that. They don't kill people. They aren't vengeful and cruel. None of this addresses, even the attachment issues, don't address the vengefulness and the sadistic quality of that revenge, the cruelty. None of it addresses any of that. So explain that, because that's what happened in this crime. She parentified, so, she's going to have bad relationships? Okay. It doesn't equal murder, and it's not, I don't think this is a mitigating factor, in my opinion.
Being a facilitator of housing and applications for jobs and things like that. So again, there's a power imbalance that I think was very seriously misaligned, as her brother and the property manager of their apartment had verified. They saw her being abused, physically abused in serious ways, or the effects of the abuse in bruising or calls to them. It is my opinion that she called for help, but when people got tired of her not leaving Mr. Torres, they stopped responding to those calls. And basically, Ms. Boone handled things on her own. And as other people with healthier boundaries probably would have left, she being acting out the pattern of intimate partner violence did not leave. She stayed long past when it would have been smart for others, or others would have said to leave, sorry. The undergirding of that not leaving the relationship is a long-term anxiety problem that became post-traumatic stress disorder. There is an earlier instance of exposure to traumatic stress in that she was the person in the hospital after her father died who found him having students perform CPR on his dead body. So that was an early exposure to high traumatic stress, witnessing that incident, and based on her brother's description, that was something that changed her. When a person is exposed to numerous compounding stressors, their adrenaline system is changed. It alters your body. And things that might be an otherwise neutral situation, you tend to have a cascading adrenaline response to that. And I think that that ultimately, for her, as she succumbed to other instances of serious physical abuse from her partner, became post-traumatic stress disorder. I do think that that is a condition that is still existent even while she's in jail. It's something that she needs treatment for because those triggers are unmitigated, meaning that...
Okay. Order the treatment then while she's in custody. Let's move on. It's in the report. Why are we doing this?
She hasn't really had the kind of therapy to address them and reduce her adrenaline and anxiety responses when she thinks of past instances of traumatic events that have happened to her.
So her adrenaline responses, according to Dr. Harper, are uncontrollable, unmitigated, right? She has these responses. It's so extreme that she has these extreme responses whenever she recalls something traumatic. Was her boyfriend dying in a suitcase not traumatic? Because she had no problem tossing that suitcase around in the courtroom. She had no problem, telling that crazy made up story, right? That we all know was just so full of BS. Was not fine, even finding him. And we know that is a fact. She was there in the house with his remains. Was that not traumatic? Where's the uncontrollable anxiety in response? We never saw any of that. I'm not saying she doesn't have issues related to other things, but not related to Mr. Torres.
You can also respond to post-traumatic stress disorder clinically by using antidepressant therapy, and that would be something that could assist her ultimately in reducing symptoms if she had counseling and antidepressant therapy.
Now, Dr. Harper, I know that you had testified in the trial that, in your opinion, she suffered as a battered spouse, the syndrome that is legally recognized in Florida, in the courts of Florida.
That's correct.
And I understand that
Now Owens is testifying. Good heavens, what a mess. And for those who can't hear, I noticed some people in the chat saying they couldn't hear him. He's just sort of reiterating, Dr. Harper, you testified that she suffers from battered spouse, blah, 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 right? So he's just reiterating what she says, and she's saying, yeah, this is, why is Kranick allowing this to go on?
is tied to this intimate partner violence, which is maybe the same thing, but there's a complex mental health issue that ties into that. Can you speak on the complexity of that whole cycle that one such as Sarah Boone and George Torres were involved in?
Certainly. So intimate partner violence is not a diagnosis. It's a pattern of events that occur between two partners in which the power dynamic is altered by the physical abuse or behaviors that are controlling in nature to the point that someone's safety is threatened. It's common for victims of that to have a complex mental health condition, often including depression, anxiety, and substance abuse problems. And what might be substance abuse to cope with the problem, like numbing oneself, will sometimes result in its own diagnosis. The pattern of intimate partner violence, I think we covered in the trial, but just in summary about that, there are phases in which at first the bonding of the two partners might be something positive. They've got something in common or have pleasurable time together. And then the secondary phase of that is when there is change in dynamic and some kind of traumatic event occurs, some instance of physical violence. And then there's a third phase in which it's like a honeymoon phase where they're trying to right the relationship. So in phase one, when they're having something pleasurable, the tone shifts. Phase two, there is some kind of incident. And phase three, there's a honeymoon phase. As that pertains to anxiety, I think that a person who suffers from intimate partner violence never stops experiencing that hypervigilance, waiting for the next instance of violence to occur. So even though they may look happy, they might be experiencing something positive, they've not really relaxed because their memory that could or will occur again is still in their mind. So they haven't fully stopped experiencing.
Everything that she's saying is correct. However, it doesn't apply to Sarah. This is about this issue in general. This isn't about Sarah. It's about people who deal with these things. And the judge knows all this. And she testified to all this. And what the crap are we doing here?
Experiencing intimate partner violence. It's just what phase of the process they're in.
Now, and Dr. Harper, it goes into more detail in your report, which I supplied to the court, which is a total of 11 pages, and I believe that's confidential documents.
That's what's been marked. I don't believe it's been filed in the court file.
Okay.
If it has, that's something if it needs to be, it's something we can address. I have reviewed it. It does reflect confidential and privileged information on the first page. I don't believe it's been filed in the court file unless you did it. Okay. It already has been? All right, appreciate it. Okay, excellent. Thank you, sir.
And Dr. Harper, you're aware that the defense has filed a defendant's motion for downward departure.
Yes.
And we've listed several factors under paragraph 3, the capacity of the defendant to appreciate the criminal nature of her actions and conform with the requirements of law or substantially impaired, that she requires specialized treatment for a mental disorder that is not related to substance use or addiction, although you agree that she does suffer from alcohol use disorder.
So she has an underlying mental health disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and I additionally diagnosed her with alcohol use disorder, which is separate.
But you agree she does require specialized treatment for a mental disorder that's not related to the substance use or addiction?
That's correct.
And you agree she's amenable for treatment?
Yes.
And you would agree that she acted under extreme duress in this unique homicide case?
Yes.
And you would agree that it...
So Owens is just kind of stringing her along. Here are the words that I need to be said for court, is basically what he's doing. So he reads them out. She says yes. Well, the jury found out or determined that she didn't do this under some extreme emotional duress. That doesn't actually apply. The jury decided that.
The uniqueness of the circumstances, the facts and circumstances surrounding the case, that the offense was committed in an unsophisticated manner.
Yes.
It was isolated.
That's my understanding as well.
Other than she had the charge, which both of them were charged at one time, and I think she had the strangulation allegation, the felony case that was ultimately dismissed when both of them were arrested.
She had a prior felony case. Facts are different, of course, than this particular case we're here today.
Dr. Harper, I believe that's all the questions I've got, unless you would like to say if I've missed anything, of course.
No, I
Okay, and if not, it's in the report.
Yes.
Any questions?
Yes, may she take a stand so I can take the podium?
Yes, that's fine.
Good. This is silliness.
You may inquire, sir.
In pages 1 and 2 of your report, you go through the sources of your information, correct?
Yes.
And that would include 8 interviews that you had with her from the course of August of 2020 through September of 2024, correct?
There were 9 interviews, but 8 dates of service are listed.
You did the Miller Forensic Assessment of Symptoms Test, or MFAST.
That's right.
Inventory of Legal Knowledge, ILK.
That's right.
Clinician-administered PTSD Scale 5 examination.
Yes.
You consulted with her attorney.
Yes.
Videotaped interviews from this court case number of Sarah Boone, interview part 1 and 2, Abraham Moreno interview, Brandon Motes interview, Brian Boone interview, Juan Torres interview, and Melissa Sexton interview, correct?
Yes.
You reviewed the autopsy photos.
Yes.
You reviewed some of the digital forensic exhibits, including the Apple iPhone XS and a Samsung SMJ 327 T1 photographs from those 2 devices.
Yes.
You reviewed Bates stamped discovery pages 1 through 413.
That's correct.
The crime scene photos are photos of a scene taken on June 19th of 2020.
Yes.
Aspire Health records.
Yes.
And who do those pertain to?
Aspire Health records are for Sarah Boone.
Florida Hospital Medical Group records?
Yes.
And who do those records pertain to?
That is also for Sarah Boone.
And Aspire, is that a mental health treatment facility?
It has an emergency department record, but that would be the place where she was detained under the Baker Act.
And it is routine and common in the practice of forensic psychology or psychiatry to rely on the records of other such practitioners.
As a source of information, sure.
You reviewed the deposition of Dr. Tanya Warner.
I did.
You reviewed the trial testimony of Sarah Boone, Brian Boone, Dr. Michael Brannon, Dr. Tanya Werner, correct?
Yes.
The jury verdict form dated 10/25/24.
Yes.
Witness list notice of filing amended
Yes.
on this case. Records of Jorge Torres or George Torres involving case numbers 2019 MM 5114, a 911 call in PDF, case 2019 MM 7193, case 2019 MM 7193, Torres Public Records, case 2019 MM 7193, Torres Photos, Central Florida Primary Care Records, Advent Health Orlando Medical Records, correct?
Yes.
And those latter records that I just mentioned, those for Mr. Torres and not Ms. Boone, correct?
That's right.
Then you reviewed Sarah Boone written correspondence, Sarah's listing of domestic violence incidents, Sarah's writings regarding missing days of work and Baker Act, and a 74-page life story.
That's right.
A 74-page life story. Oh my gosh. Do you notice that the direct information related to her childhood and how she perceived things, all of that, that's all from Sarah's own life reports, or sorry, own self reports. Is that what you're going to rely on? I mean, we've got a known liar here who has lots of reason, compelling reason, to continue to lie, and that's what we're believing, huh?
And then case 2018 CF 10573, public records and photos.
Yes.
And a telephone interview with Melissa Sexton, the property manager, which you conducted on October 1st, 2024.
Yes.
And a telephonic interview with Philip Paulson, the defendant's brother, on November 26, 2024.
Yes.
Where has Ms. Boone been housed and living since February of 2020?
At the Orange County Jail.
And does the Orange County Jail provide mental health services to inmates?
It does.
And you already testified you would routinely, as a forensic psychologist, review records kept of psychological or psychiatric treatment of a patient or a client, correct?
Yes.
In this particular case, have you reviewed any mental health records generated by the Orange County Jail for Ms. Boone?
No, I have not had the opportunity to do that.
So, for the last 58 months or so, if she was being seen by the mental health treatment staff at the jail, you have not reviewed those records?
That's correct.
And they are overseen at the...
Ooh. All right. How can she stand in front of the court and say, well, she needs this, that, and the other thing, and what she recommends, and what the state of things are, if she doesn't know what the state of things are? Because there's 4.5 years worth of information and potential interventions that she hasn't looked at? Uh-oh.
The jail, in the Orange County Jail, by a psychiatrist. Are you aware or not?
If the person's level of mental health intervention deems them eligible for psychiatry, then they will.
And any diagnosis or lack of diagnosis that they have had during the course of the last 58 months, you are unaware of because you did not review the records.
That's right.
I don't have any other questions.
Any redirect examination?
No, Judge.
All right, thank you.
One question. Dr. Harper, I didn't ask you to review those records, did I?
No.
Thank you.
Judge, I believe you said it at the very beginning that I had submitted several letters on behalf of Ms. Boone, and she didn't hear that, but I wanted her to be made aware.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't actually read those letters into the record, but you did read them.
I have reviewed them. They're in my binder here. How many do I have? Yes. Give me a second, I can tell you. I have I have 6 handwritten letters. First one is 1 page. Second one is 2 pages. Third one is 1 page. Fourth one is 2 pages. Fifth one is 2 pages. Sixth one is 2 pages. I have a typed letter from Diane Smith, the assistant chaplain. I have another typed letter from a Nicole Ray, a typed letter from a Stephanie L., a typed letter from Philip Paulson, an email from Lana Albert, 2 pages in length, and a 2-page email from a Danielle Parsons.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Judge, I would like to call Sarah Boone.
You may proceed.
If you could take this.
Yes, please.
Here we go.
Ms. Boone, you can be seated. You've been previously sworn. You may inquire, sir.
For the record, just state your name again.
Sarah Boone.
All right. Now, this is unlike a trial, so you're allowed to speak in a narrative form, as well as I understand you have taken some notes or written a letter that you want to read from, and then you want to speak to the court after that.
Yes.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and get started?
This is actually an edited version of.
Hold on a second.
Do I have time to order pizza?
I had a lot to say. I've had a lot of time to think about things, and I didn't really know how to put it on paper, and I didn't know how much I could say or how little I should say. So what I have here is, like I said, an edited version. But I would like to read the more important parts that I feel that everyone should know that wasn't said in my actual trial. And on top of what I have on paper, I have.
You know, someone at the very beginning of this video in the chat said she is going to relitigate the things she didn't like. She's going to relitigate her innocence. And whoever said it, you were right, because here we go. Here we go.
This is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. So I wanted to read this, and then, if I may, I would like to address everyone in my apology on top of my statement.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Kintu sukuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style which means to repair with gold. In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer. So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness.
Oh, man. How many of you have heard this before? This is not something that she wrote, okay? Because I've heard this story before. I've read this before. But here we go. So she's going to make herself, she's going to use it to make herself, hey, I've been repaired with gold, and I'm not hiding my brokenness, and I'm brilliant. Oh, my gosh. Somebody says, Somebody in the chat says, somebody please take me out now.
It embraces flaws, weakness, and imperfections, and also teaches the essence of resilience. Every crack in a ceramic piece is a part of its history, and each piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kintu Sukuroi. In my wisdom and with all of my repairs, then, now, and ongoing, God is, has been, and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter, and overcome the damage caused by Jorge Torres, the Torres family, the justice.
I'm sorry. You know what? I am not going to not interrupt her because there is just so much wrong with this. Here we go. The victim blaming. Oh, and she's broken because of the man she victimized. This is abhorrent. It is disgusting. It is vile. And look at the look on her face right here. It's almost like that. She's got that sneer. That, yeah, she is going to be unrepentant to the end. And to the end, it's going to be, I shine brilliantly, brightly. I am made with gold. And I have contempt for everybody else. She's disgusting.
System, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional rights violations, second-degree murder, forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very precious, forgiveness is invaluable.
And she's got not just the eye block, but there was a disdain and a defiance in her face here. So I've said before, she's a grievance collector. She's giving a laundry list of her grievances. And it doesn't matter how many times you tell her or show her and provide the receipts as to why she's actually incorrect. No. She's got her list, and reality is what she says it is in the moment that she says it is. And you must agree, or else. But, she shines like gold, and everybody else is beneath her. Wow. Nothing has changed. In fact, I think she's worse.
Forgiveness is not an attempt to change or forget who, what, or how you've lived through to be so gold, but an act of grace, humility, and considerable self-compassion to be set free from sorrow. Withholding forgiveness denies your brilliance and adds even greater grief and deeper heartache, irreparable cracks on top of the already that no one deserves, no matter the pain or disappointment, untruths or injustice. It doesn't matter, as the more broken you are, even though now different than before, you've become more outstanding and more extraordinary. Above all, when you let go of blame, misunderstandings, excuses, give up your anger and cease from resentment, this is forgiven. And when you forgive, you heal. And when you heal, you move forward. My goal begins with Jorge Torres, and every time he slapped me, kicked, punched, spit on, raped, stabbed, choked, laughed at, pushed, pulled, dragged, whipped, tripped, stole from, lied, terrorized, threatened, humiliated, forced, degraded, made me cry. Every time he tried to end me, defeat, or destroy. I forgive Jorge for beating me senseless, for trying to sleep because I
Wow. I'm just going to lie about you and then say I forgive you. Gaslighting in front of the world. This is reprehensible. Wow. People are saying, get her off the effing stand. Cut her microphone. This is disgusting. And poor mom is sitting, and daughters and families sitting in the courtroom. She's having fun doing this. Look at her. Look at her on the stand. She's enjoying this. Yeah, you know what? We have to listen to you today, Sarah Boone, but that'll be it. That'll be bye-bye, Fluffy.
I had to go to work or my son's field trip the next day. For ruining my deceased family's heirlooms, traditions, and keepsakes, my son's furniture, destroying the television we watched together. For wrecking our townhome by breaking windows, punching holes in the walls and doors, ramming his entire body into glass doors, kicking in my front and back door over and over and over. For breaking or removing the lock.
She told the police on body cam he would never break in. And yet she sits here saying, oh, he kicked my front door and back door in over and over and over. Yet she said to police on video he would never break in. She just makes up a new thing. Just rewrite history. Just make up a new thing. It's just horrible. She probably heard stories from other victims in custody and just sort of incorporated that into her lives.
From all of the doors and sometimes the knobs altogether, so I had nowhere to feel safe, including the sacred space of my son's room where he beat me bloody on his bed. For terrorizing and threatening my blind and deaf dogs by leaving the gate open I built to keep them safe, telling me he hoped I'd find their bloated dead body in the pond or scrape their remains off of the pavement, for kicking them off of the bed and throwing across the room because they were trying to protect me. For threatening to make me unrecognizable to my son by breaking all of the bones in my face, like his brother Moses did to him after he kept seeing all of the bruises from George beating me, like all of the times their father beat their mother. For all of the drunken rages and fist fights with...
She just said, for all the times that, their father beat their mother. I saw an interview with Mr. Torres' ex-wife, and she said on camera there was never physical abuse that went on. That the problems that they had was that George was a bit of a womanizer. He was good with the ladies, but there was never physical abuse. She's sitting here lying through her freaking teeth. And again, look at her face. Look particularly at her lips. She is enjoying doing this. She's enjoying spewing out this poison. Don't say Christian to me, Sarah. Do not say Christian. Because, there are admonishments and warnings about controlling the tongue. And this is intentional and vile.
So many neighbors when wandering into their apartments during hunting expeditions after I had escaped. For drowning me in liquor and wine because I didn't want to drink, causing me to urinate on myself, then butting the...
She didn't want to drink, so he made her? Meanwhile, she had an alcohol problem before she even split up with Brian, before she met Mr. Torres. But even so, I guess it's Mr. Torres's fault, even retroactively, like he time traveled or something and made this happen somehow, right? She is not even talking to the judge because Kranick knows, the lawyers all there, they all know. She's talking to the public now. She is talking to us. She knows this is televised and she is loving it. This is what she wants. And so I think it's important to call it out. She's a liar. She was abusing substances way before him. So he didn't make her do anything. And do you remember that video? The one where he ended up in the fetal position on the floor? Like a beaten down dog or child? Because she was mad at him because he drank the alcohol. He drank too much out of the bottle and wasn't enough for her. But okay, it's all his fault that she drinks because she doesn't want to. Give me a break.
the end of the bottle in my face, giving me 2 black eyes and a bloody nose. For making me experience what it is to be sodomized. Threatening to kill my friends and the neighbors when they checked on me to make sure I was alive and in one piece. For threatening to burn down our townhome and set my car on fire because I got a job. For holding me hostage on weekends my son was supposed to come over by keeping my keys around his neck, my phone in his crotch, and a butcher knife stuck in the middle of the table as a warning not to ask anything or try to leave. For stabbing me in the leg and not letting me call 911 for an ambulance or seek help, where I nearly bled to death until I concocted a lie to save him from being arrested. For destroying my phone with a hammer because my son called. For me experiencing ever being arrested and after today, prison. For beating me almost blind, crushing my occipital lobe. For having me experience what it means to see stars, like in the cartoons, where a character has a tall lump on their head. I had that too, and many times. For dragging me downstairs by my hair in the middle of the night just to sit next to him. For taking my car driving drunk with my debit card to buy more alcohol while I slept, even after I kindly...
She's accusing him of DUI, right? Do you remember the time he took her car keys and went home from the bar, and she was angry because she couldn't drive drunk. He prevented her from driving drunk. But she's just going to flip this around. Wow.
Explained the importance of my car to take my son to school foremost, me to work, and he to his batterers intervention classes and probation officer meetings, where I would be forced to sit for hours in the parking lot waiting for him. For causing me so much trauma and pain, mentally, physically, emotionally, I had to be hospitalized more than once. For destroying my reputation and integrity, for my M for murderer scarlet letter, not letting me feel safe to live, talk to other people.
M for murderer, scarlet letter. Sarah, you are a murderer. And you can be as mad as you want about that, about the fact that you were found guilty in a court. This is not alleged. You are. And that scarlet letter is on you forever. You're done.
People spend time with my son, have a job, friendships. Simply go to the bathroom with the door closed, or go to sleep soundly or comfortably. I forgive George for lying, for him trying in so many ways, so many times, to end me with his terrifying love.
And plagiarism too, eh? So, this is all couched in the language of forgiveness. And I had actually forgotten that that's how it started. I forgive him for, and here's the list of horrible things that I'm going to say about him. You know, if you forgave him everything, you simply had to say, I forgive him everything. You don't have to trot out this huge list and rub it in everybody's faces, because you know what? That's not forgiveness. She didn't forgive. She's not forgiving. This is a way to couch the language to say this one last kick at the victim. I mean, what more can she do?
I also forgive the Torres family, his mother and father foremost, also his 2 ex-wives and daughters, all for knowing who George was, capable of, and has done in the past, his history of violence and where he learned it, then to keep turning.
I forgive them for knowing his history. And by the way, I mean, she's making it up that there was a history, because by all accounts there wasn't.
A blind eye when I would ask for help. All of his siblings, including Pharrell Torres, who is now on his way to prison for stabbing the mother of their baby in the side of her head. For everyone who knew what George was doing to me, sometimes how and when, but allowed and enabled. I forgive them for caring too late. I hope they all ask themselves while quiet and comfortable in bed at night the uneasy question, what could I have done to stop this from happening?
If I could reach through my computer screen right now and touch her, I'd end up in jail, you guys. She basically just told the family, guess what? It's your fault, Mama Torres. Your fault that he's dead because you didn't stop it. Do you not think that they have all gone through this question in their mind? What if? What could we have done differently? What if we had said this or done that? Those family members have been through that. And she is taking that and like a knife through their heart. She's doing this. She is vile. And you know what? Kranick isn't stupid. He sees this. He sees through this crap. Now, he probably already has a pretty good idea of sentence. If not, if he doesn't already know. But man, whatever it is, I hope he ups it. She should get life. There is nothing here. Not only is there a dearth of remorse or empathy, there's actually vindictiveness right here in front of our eyes. This is disgusting. She is a murderer and a vengeful, sadistic one at that.
To both of them, and after all the times Sarah tried to by asking for help from all of us and so many times. Another great contributor of my gold is social media, with its greed, insensitivity, deception, obvious exploitation, and advantageous gain from my criminal case as a whole, and for sentencing me by anticipation as a result of ignorance and hate, conjured and fabricated by the organized crime that is social media, which condemned me in the court of global public opinion since the beginning. My family law case is...
Sarah, the point is moot. It's moot. You were convicted by a jury in a court. So, move on, honey. You're done.
The new prey waiting to be picked apart and pillaged from me being made infamous by social media in my criminal case. It simply seems I cannot forgive and be forgiven and move forward. Social media has made me a pariah. It has caused great oppression and undeniable disadvantages, especially by broadcasting and manipulating my cases online. In my criminal case, as a result, my opportunities to be given a fair, proper, and uninfluenced, successful conclusion was heavily depleted and poisoned. I forgive them. Also, all of the media tycoons for not having a life of their own, trying so desperately to make themselves seem so right by making...
Tycoons. she thinks media tycoons are real interested in her. Really? Media tycoons. What does she think that means? Oh my gosh, you guys.
Me appear so wrong. Forgiveness for prejudgment, ridiculous theatrics, lies, making and taking blood money from my and others' misfortunes, accidents, and catastrophes. It's all over their hands and their keyboards. And even after all that's been said and done, theorized, hypothesized, scrutinized, and blasphemed, in my case, still no one knows me.
Blasphemed? Really? So I haven't seen everything on Sarah Boone. So I don't know if that happened. But you want to talk about blasphemy? Look at here. Look at her. She's disgusted. She's disgusted with all of us. Well, that's okay. Because we're all disgusted with her. But blasphemy, using God as a tool to exploit, or using God as a tool to get away with crime, that's blasphemous, I would say.
In the end, I forgive myself for not choosing my life sooner, for not being more brave, vigilant, bolder, and outspoken, stronger, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, for being hopeless, desperate, simple-minded, weak, and inexperienced. I forgive myself for not realizing I was enduring a life of domestic violence and that the vicious cycle of never ends. I had nothing to compare to. I've never been hit by a man ever before in my life. I was raised hitting a woman was wrong and should never happen.
She says, I had nothing to compare it to. I'd never been hit. Well, yeah, then you have something to compare it to, hon. You do. Right? And look at her face. Again, Like, this is a constant. If you were a body language expert or facial expression expert, you could go through this frame by frame, and there was constantly something. She's enjoying this. This is a big game. This is fun for her. So, oh gosh.
Happen, no excuse. I forgive myself for not escaping permanently, for not fighting back sooner to save myself, my son, my dogs, home and car. Having 20/20 hindsight, thinking of everything I could have done differently or better to avoid the outcome. I think about this every day since. Also, of all the good days we had together, for him at least, while I was constantly in hyperdrive, high alert, and paranoid, making sure I did everything right all the time. If not, the great possibility I would be ended as George threatened me with so many times before. I forgive myself for falling in love with a monster, and no matter how grotesque he may become, I still loved him, hoped, and forgave. I tried breaking the spell so he wouldn't be a monster anymore. I saw who he was inside. George made me then, now, and always love him for all of his cracks also. We made each other our own brilliant pieces of art from the cracks and repairs. Unfortunately, not all cracks can be. In all of my forgiveness, George is my greatest lesson and will forever be a part of me. I think of him every day and still speak to him when alone on the rec yard. I ask his forgiveness and that he looks for me at the gates of heaven so I can tell him how sorry I am, endlessly, and that I never stopped loving him. In all of it and still. When I first came to jail, I put my mat under my bed and cried all day and all night for months, only falling asleep from being so exhausted with grief. I wrote him letters. I wrote his family and his daughters, apologizing for asking for their forgiveness. But due to fear that my life or sons would be jeopardized, I did not send. I am sorry. I cannot begin to fathom any of their grief and sadness.
Oh my gosh. I wrote letters saying I was sorry. No one's ever seen them. So I'm sorry I didn't send them. What I mean, there's layers upon layers upon layers of lies.
Please forgive me. Almost everything reminds me of him, seeing my stab wound especially every day especially. It truly reminds me that all I really did live through. George haunts me. He is everywhere. I believe because I do still love him, think of him, and miss his laugh the most. In my heart, I know he is with me and understands that this tragedy was not intentional. I hope everyone can, his family foremost. I didn't mean for this to happen. Please wholeheartedly know that, and always, I would never.
So this is her apology. It's not my fault. That's the apology. It wasn't intentional. Is that it? I mean, there's got to be more. Let's keep going.
Forgive me, George. Forgive me, Torres family. Forgive me, Judge Cranick. To the entire planet, please forgive me. I graciously and humbly ask for consideration, for forgiveness to be extended instead of judgment, for reconciliation and restoration for all of us to move forward.
Reconciliation, right? We want to move forward. There is something that the First Nations people in Canada say, which is, there was a Truth and Reconciliation project. You can't have reconciliation without first having truth. So, I mean, first of all, you need something to reconcile to. And secondly, there's no truth coming from her lips. She's not acknowledging the truth of what she did. She's continuing to vilify him and continuing to intentionally hurt his family. So there's no reconciliation. And there was no, beseeching for forgiveness. It sounded more like an order, a command. Forgive me because I said so.
Forward. My apology is profuse and ceaseless. Allow me, please, to brush off the muck, wipe the blood off of my face, and fix the cuts in my skin. I ask for understanding in what really happened and for how long. For second chances, repentance, and redemption, to advocate for all domestic violence survivors, to help them overcome, heal, and still hope. All.
Excuse me? She wants to advocate for DV survivors? God help anybody who comes into contact with her if she is, putting on that cloak, okay? I hope she's never in a position of power like that, psychological power over another person. She should never be allowed to mentor or counsel her. That is her game. That is her predatory game.
Always, to make their voices heard, to confidently walk with all of their scars on the outside and the inside, to help them not ever become a casualty of domestic violence as so many others, to stop the abuse and maltreatment before it's too late. There is always hope, and you can survive. In my soft-spoken conclusion, I ask this: would I be the darling mother, celebrated woman of the year, if it were I who died? How many daughters, mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, nieces, and friends have been because they did? I am a survivor. Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke oppressors, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Isaiah 1:17, all-encompassing, protect the abused.
Protect the abused. Judge Kranick, hope you heard that. Hope you heard that. Because that's not Sarah. That's Mr. Torres.
Ms. Boone, is that the end of your written statement?
Yes.
Now, gathering your thoughts, did you want to make an oral statement?
I do.
All right, would you do that now?
Yes, please. My verbal statement is primarily to the Torres family, to the judge, to his daughters. I know you all know who I really am, and that I did care for George, and that I do still love George. I know you know that we had very many good days, and I take offense to the statement of being said that this is just for a moment. Right now with me here in the courtroom in front of you all, this is just for a moment. But the moments before that, in order for me to be here, is endless. It's everlasting. The scars that I have on the inside, my outside scars have healed except for my stab wound. But this has changed me as a person to see things differently and to understand things differently and to...
Yeah, because you got caught. But she isn't seeing anything differently because she's engaging in exactly the same behavior that got her here. The same thinking that got her here in the first place. And that has nothing to do with the Torres family. This predated Mr. Torres being in her life. This is who she is.
To not be weak and just try to protect yourself, and forever, regardless of the time that I may receive from today, I forever will have this experience. I forever will have George Torres with me in my heart, in my mind, my body, and my soul. As he and I used to say that we were one soul split into two bodies. This is not just for a moment. It may be for everyone in this courtroom, but when I leave, this is forever. When you all leave, that this is forever. This is forever for everyone here and those who it matters to most. I am one of those who will experience this forever. I'm sorry. Words do not define my shame, and I don't know what else it is that I can say and convey to the Torres family how this happened.
That was the apology? It's basically, oh, this is affecting me. Me. She does mention shame. That's it? That's the apology? Good Lord.
The ifs and whys and how really don't matter. It happened, and I'm sorry. Words cannot describe. And I hope that everyone can forgive me, the Torres family most of all, and his daughters, because I know what he meant to them. And I don't think that anybody ever understood what he meant to me and I to him. And I ask for forgiveness.
Ms. Boone, I have just one or two questions, if you don't mind. And you can speak on it if you want or not. But this is a unique case, and one of the reasons it's so unique is that you were in jail for 4.5 years prior to your trial. And I understand that when you were brought up as a child that you did have some spirituality in your family, some church, some religion.
Always.
But I understand that you got away from that. Did you have a chance during the 4.5 years to look back at your spirituality?
Absolutely. You know, everyone supposes that this is one of the worst experiences of my life, and it's actually been one of my greatest. If I were not beaten to death, I was going to work myself to death on the outside, and I never had time to get back into.
She never freaking worked. What is she talking about? This is like fantasy land.
My Bible and to pray and to be with the Lord. And I, being here incarcerated, have had time, of course, to get closer to God, to reacquaint myself to him and realize.
I'm waiting for the lightning strike to come. She's going to get struck by lightning at any moment. More of this. My goodness. She's exploiting God, or the idea of God.
What it's all about. This is all temporary. And when I say temporary, I don't mean by being set free in jail or from prison or wherever else. It means being set free and temporary, meaning that you work for something higher, you work for God, that you strive for your crown to be placed upon your head by Jesus Christ by being said, "You have done well, my good and faithful servant." I've always tried to be a good and faithful servant. I was just a servant as opposed to doing all that I can when my family were alive and I was going through everything up to this point. I've become so much more closer to the Lord, and it's made me such a better person, and I hope that I am an example going forward of the Lord's light and can draw many people to me because of it.
Any follow-up, State?
She's going to be like a beacon for the Lord. Honey, with friends like that, God doesn't even need Satan. Like, you know, wow.
No, I assume that was the final word.
Thank you. She can return back to council's table. Anything else from your side of the ledger, Mr. Owens?
No more witnesses, Judge, just arguments.
Okay. Anything else in rebuttal, or just proceed to argument, State?
Just proceed to argument.
Okay. All right. Once Ms. Booth's seated, you can proceed with your argument, either Mr. J or Mr. Cacciatore. You may proceed, sir.
Your Honor, I'm going to start my argument by what I anticipate Mr. Owens will bring up in his presentation regarding the plea offer in this case. that she was offered a resolution in this case of 15 years in the Department of Corrections to begin with. I think it's important, though, that the entire circumstance of that plea offer is put forward. And there's something very critical to that. It's not just 15 years in the Department of Corrections. It's 15 years in the Department of Corrections, but it's predicated on something. And the consideration that it's predicated on is the defendant coming to court and accepting responsibility for her actions. For her coming to court and saying, I am responsible for George Torres's death, and I accept the punishment that comes with it. That consideration was never given in this case. And because that consideration was never given in this case, the offer of 15 years in no way represents what this case is worth, or what George Torres's life is worth. That is an offer predicated on a particular circumstance, a circumstance of a first-time defendant accepting responsibility and giving every benefit of the doubt in coming to court and saying that they are ready to be punished. Those conditions were never met. So then we turn to this case, and we turn to this crime, and we turn to the actions of the defendant of taking the law into her own hands and murdering George Torres. She has never shown remorse for that. She didn't show remorse for that here today. She again painted herself as the victim. She's the victim of George Torres. She recounted the litany of evil deeds and mistreatments that he perpetrated upon her. She's the victim of George Torres' family. She's the victim of police. She's the victim of social media. It's all about Sarah Boone. Everything's about Sarah Boone and about how she is the victim. And Sarah Boone sentenced every one of George Torres' loved ones to a life sentence. Just like she sentenced George Torres when he was in that suitcase. George Torres lived out his last nightmarish circumstance in that suitcase, begging to be let out for several minutes, which undercuts any argument that this was somehow unsophisticated. There was ample time and opportunity over and over for her to do something different. But she went forward with taking the law into her own hands and ensuring that George Torres was never getting out of there, while she went up to bed and went to sleep for hours on end. She can't say that she was in duress for the same reason. She was in such duress of George Torres that she goes upstairs and goes to sleep for 11 hours. Your Honor, there's been nothing from the testimony of Dr. Harper either that establishes any type of diagnosis that would give this court a basis to downward depart. Dr. Harper has put blinders on to the fact that she has been incarcerated for 58 months. 58 months with the opportunity to receive mental health treatment, and the expert witness is absolutely incurious about what any of those records or diagnosis or anything that would have been there would have said. There is no valid basis for a downward departure in this case. She deserves a life sentence. Thank you.
Mr. Owens, response?
Damn it, Margaret. Well,
Just credit. First off, I want to thank you for taking the time to hear our side, hear the witnesses, and review the letters on Sarah Boone's behalf. We've all been here for this trial. We've all been here for other trials. We've all got some age on us. We've all got some life experience on us. And this is a unique case. This was a unique homicide. It was a unique death. And as we all know, a lot of these cases are not black and white. They're shades of gray. And these crimes don't occur in a vacuum. That there's generally a history, especially involving a domestic couple, a history that comes into play that must be explored. And a lot of what Sarah Boone testified to here today probably happened behind closed doors. And we all know that many times
he said he betrayed himself. All these things that Sarah said today probably happened behind closed doors. Well, if he believed it, he would say they happened behind closed doors. But he says probably because even he doesn't believe her.
we do not know what happens behind closed doors between a man and a woman in their home, unless there is some reason for the neighbors or law enforcement or somebody else to get involved. And that happened in this case. And so gradually over time, as this event occurred, there was an investigation, and it was learned that there was a history of domestic violence involving these two parties. And what we learned was that physically there was violence, and there were photographs to establish that, as were introduced in the trial. And then there was testimony from experts, not only the defense expert, Dr. Harper, that Sarah Boone was the victim, and she was a victim of intimate partner violence, but coupled with the fact that the state's expert testified on the stand at the trial that Sarah Boone was a victim of intimate partner violence, that she suffered from this domestic or this battered spouse syndrome as the hands of Jorge Torres. So there's two sides to it. And in a domestic violence situation like that, 95% of the women get out of that relationship. When violence starts to occur, they've either been raised a certain way, they have a certain self-esteem about themselves, where they refuse to put up with it, knowing that it's wrong, knowing that they can do better. But there is a small percentage throughout the country that, for whatever reason, mental health issues, addiction issues, whatever it is, it's complex. Financial reasons, children are involved, whatever. If you do any studying on it, there are circumstances where there is a group of women, predominantly women, it can happen to men, but majority of the time it's a woman that gets caught in this cycle of what we term as intimate partner violence. And heard the testimony about the cycle that occurs. It's over a period of time and it repeats itself, and you go through these phases. A lot of times the victim's not a great historian at trying to articulate it. She tried to do it here today. And I think on Sarah Boone's behalf, she is a unique individual. She's got the personality that she's got. I don't know. You heard from Dr.
There's Owens not lying. She has a unique personality.
Harper, that a lot of that was formulated based on the way her mother did not bond with her, the way that her father was the way that he was, the fact that she lost several relatives at a young age, and the trauma that can result. We heard from Dr. Harper that she did suffer from post-traumatic stress as it relates to that trauma in early childhood, and then again as it relates to the events that occurred between Mr. Torres and her. So it's complicated, Judge. It's complicated. But the jury has spoken. Sarah Boone was entitled under Florida law to present that defense, and she did. That testimony was allowed to be presented. She was allowed to testify. But the jury spoke. And so here we are today with you in a position to decide what is justice for Sarah Boone. And I don't know you that much other than our time together, but from what I know you try to do the right thing. And that's what we're asking the court to do. To have some discernment, to have some understanding of the unique situation that Sarah Boone found herself in. And quite frankly, Judge, this all didn't occur behind closed doors. A lot of this was in the public eye. Mr. Torres had, I believe, 3 criminal cases before the courts of this county in which Sarah Boone was a victim. Mr. Torres was the accused. Those cases were dismissed. We know from the history of this domestic violence field that that's normal, that Sarah Boone every time either tried to bond him out or tried to get the case dismissed. At some point, somebody has to stop. Somebody has to say, wait, what's going on here? This keeps repeating. It's going to get worse. Something's going to happen. The system failed, Sarah Boone. I'd ask for you to consider that. Circumstances surrounding that failure and what led us here today. I've asked the court to consider a downward departure. I believe you've gotten a copy of the score sheet.
Not since before trial.
Okay.
Is the score sheet stipulated to?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may approach. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Judge, I was provided that here today, and I believe, I can't remember the total number of months that it involves, but divided by 12, I think it's 20 months. 20.6 is the low end of the guidelines or something about.
It's 246.0 months based on the score sheet.
I did the calculation, but I believe that the low end is 20 years, 20.6 years state prison, I believe is the low end.
20.5. Yes, sir.
As the court knows, I believe it's on page 3. There are some aggravators that the court can consider in opposing the sentence, and then there are a list of mitigators that the court can consider in downward departing, meaning going lesser than the low end of the guidelines. And in the defendant's motion for downward departure, we mentioned, and I had Dr. Harper testify about 2 or 3 of the grounds, and the court needs to only find one to go below the guidelines. The capacity of the defendant to appreciate the criminal nature of her actions and to conform said actions to the requirements of the law were substantially impaired. Judge, I don't have to reiterate the facts and circumstances surrounding this event. You were here, you heard the testimony, you heard the circumstances surrounding what happened and how it happened. I would ask that you consider that as a mitigator.
You know, even if they could make a cogent argument or a powerful argument, which they can't, to that she, you know, her judgment was so impaired, blah, blah, blah. The fact of the matter is that after the fact, after the crime, she didn't sit back and go, oh, crap. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'll take responsibility. So that raises questions about any argument that could be made as to her judgment before and during the crime. Anyway.
To D, the defendant requires specialized treatment for a mental disorder that is not related to substance abuse or addiction and is amenable to treatment. I think it's fair to say here that we know that Sarah suffers from some mental health issues, objective mental health issues that have been opined by Dr. Harper and Dr. Werner. And you heard Dr. Harper testify about the post-traumatic stress disorder that she suffers from as it relates to this event, as it relates to her trauma that occurred in childhood. I think we heard from Dr. Werner. Dr. Werner testified that she suffered from the alcohol abuse disorder, as did Dr. Harper, but Dr. Werner also mentioned that she was not for sure about the anxiety disorder, whether it occurred prior to or because she was in the jail for the 4.5 years. However, she does require specialized treatment for the mental disorder, and she is amenable for treatment. And then third, the defendant acted under extreme duress, I think based on Sarah Boone's mindset as she testified to her today, and then you heard from the experts at the trial that when you get that anxious.
Hang on a second. He's saying, oh, well, she needs treatment. She's amenable to treatment. And earlier we heard that Dr. Harper didn't review any mental health medical records. And Harper's answer was, well, I didn't get time for that. So the question wasn't raised and answered as to whether or not there were any records to review. And Owens is now standing up here saying she's amenable to treatment. Okay, where are all the notes for the treatment that she has sought? Does the court have those? Because no one's mentioning that.
Just about what happens. Sarah testified about they would have good days where there would be no drinking or very little drinking, and then there would be other days where there was heavy drinking, and generally when Jorge Torres got highly intoxicated is when potentially things could get violent, and that she was constantly anxious about each day that she was with him. She loved him, obviously being in a cycle like that where you love someone but can't leave them. For whatever reason, Jorge Torres couldn't leave Sarah Boone, and Sarah Boone couldn't leave Jorge Torres, and it was a vicious cycle. But we believe that she qualifies under that it was under extreme duress at the time of this event. And lastly, the defense was committed in an unsophisticated manner, which was an isolated incident. Now, isolated, we know, Judge, that she had one prior event in which both of them were arrested. You heard her testimony that it was during an event. They ended up downstairs next to the washer and dryer, and that she was on the bottom, and she had used her hands to try to get him off, and she had tried to choke him, and there were some marks on him, and she was arrested for felony domestic violence battery, as well as he was arrested. I think a few days later, both of those charges were dismissed against either party. But she has no criminal conviction record. She has never been convicted of a crime other than that event. Now, I think that can be distinguished. So we believe that it was an unsophisticated manner. Obviously, the uniqueness of this event is unsophisticated. Anybody that would calculate that they were going to murder somebody by putting them in a suitcase and letting them spend the night, and the next morning not try to dispose of the body, not try to put the suitcase.
Dude, she did want to dispose of the body. That's why he was in the suitcase. You see, she beat him with the bat, and the suitcase was in the upstairs closet. And she thought he was dead, so she put him in the suitcase and then pushed it down the stairs and was surprised when he woke up. And then she called Brian late at night because she had a problem. She had a suitcase with a guy in there, and she needed to get rid of this suitcase. And then she's talking to him in the morning before calling 911. He's telling her repeatedly, you got to call 911. She didn't reach out for help, reach out to authorities until there was no other choice. So Owens is standing here saying, yeah, she didn't try and dispose of him. I think she did. I think putting him in the suitcase was part of trying to dispose of him. And the problem was that Brian wasn't going to go along with this. So, yeah.
Case in a car and go dump the body, not try to dispose of the bat, do something. She did nothing. No attempts to tamper with evidence. No attempts after the fact to uncover any conduct whatsoever. No attempts to delete the videos from her phone. Here's my phone. Voluntarily given that information. I think that goes to the unsophisticated manner and unintentional death.
Moth's mummy is asking me, you think he died upstairs? No, we know he didn't. But I think he was knocked unconscious upstairs by her with the bat, because she keeps mentioning the shower, and we know the suitcase was originally kept up there and all of that. And she kept talking about upstairs and hiding time and all of that. So I think she whacked him upstairs, because that is when the neighbors heard a huge fight and sudden silence in the middle of a drop, like a big, huge fight right in the middle. Boom, it's quiet. And then the crash down the stairs. So he didn't pass away up there, but I think she thought he had and stuffed him in the suitcase.
That occurred. I remember the first time I saw the suitcase video. And I know people have differing opinions. Tony Henderson, my colleague, had a different opinion when he saw it. But I remember the first time I saw the video, and I heard what she was saying to him. When he was saying, hey, Sarah, let me out. I can't breathe. Or words to that effect. And the way that she was talking to him, and the statements that she gave to him, in my mind, what has he done to her? What has he done to her?
Look at Crane giving that look. So here we are now. Mr. Owens is blaming the victim as well. Right. And Owens is saying, oh, you heard how Sarah was talking to Mr. Torres. Yeah, we heard. She taunted him and mocked him and used this horrible tone of voice. And so Owens is, oh, well, what has he done to her? He's basically saying he asked for it, that he deserved it. This is horsepucky.
Any loved one you see in a situation like that is going to run and let them out. So my thought was, obviously, they were both drinking. But what has he done to her? And I think it's telling about what she'd endured So it's not a clear-cut case, Judge. It's not black and white. There is some gray. And it's up to you to decide what's appropriate based on the court's, based on the jury's decision. But I would ask you to temper whatever justice that you think is appropriate with some mercy. And consider the fact that the state was willing to offer 15 years on a manslaughter as a lesser included offense based on the facts and circumstances that they were aware of prior to this trial. Thank you.
Thank you. Any rebuttal by the state?
No,
Okay. The court has had the opportunity to review the evidence and testimony that was presented at trial. The victim impact statements presented here today, the statements of character witnesses, both orally and in writing, Dr. Harper's report and testimony, the defendant's testimony, pre-sentencing investigation, the arguments of the state and the arguments of the defense. Court pronounces sentence as follows. Ms. Boone, court sentences you to life in the Department of Corrections with credit time served that Madam Clerk will provide to you momentarily. There are also court costs and costs of prosecution, which Madam Clerk will give you the totals of momentarily. Due to the court levying a life sentence, the court is inclined to liquidate those to a civil judgment unless I hear opposition from the state.
no opposition, Your Honor.
All right. Madam Clerk, if you could please give us the credit time served and the court costs, please.
4 years, 9 months, and 8 days. And the
4 years, 9 months, 8 days. That's the credit time served. Okay, costs.
The court costs are $418, a state prosecution fee of $100, a dirt fee of $50, and a PD. Oh, excuse me, you're not supervised.
I'm right.
So the total would come up to $618.
All right, ma'am, the court costs and costs of prosecution are $618. Those will be liquidated to a civil judgment. You will be given credit time served of 4 years, 9 months, and 8 days. You will have 30 days from today to appeal the judgment and sentence in writing. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you. I'm going to have the courtroom deputy provide you the paperwork. Because you've been incarcerated for the last 58 some odd months, the court is going to declare that you are indigent in this matter. I cannot appoint the public defender to represent you as they are conflicted out. Similarly, I cannot appoint the regional conflict counsel to represent you for the same reasons. The clerk will.
Wow. So even if she wants to appeal or do anything, she can't even get a public defender because she burned them all, conflicted everything, conflicted everyone out. And there's something that I'm going to continue in a second, but there's something I wanted to do. I thought he was going to give a number of years, like 25 years or 30 or whatever. But what he said is life. And so I just, want to play the count one last time in honor of Sarah. So the sentence is life. Okay, we'll keep going.
Will appoint an attorney from the conflict wheel who specializes in appellate litigation. And again, you'll have 30 days from today to appeal that judgment and sentence in writing. Do you have any questions for me? You will now be remanded into the custody of the Orange County Jail to transfer you to the Department of Corrections, and I wish you the best of luck. State, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Defense, anything further?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you all very much. Court's off the record.
He didn't admonish her. He didn't make any statements. I was hoping that Kranick would discuss it, have some things to say, but he did not. Interesting. Let's keep watching. Oh, and Sarah? Shh. think so. I think we can chat while this is going on, right? I mean, the judge is gone. Yeah, Sonata says for everything she did to him. Yeah. Good. Owens gives her a pat on the back. Bye-bye, Fluffy. See you later. Or not, I won't see you. So, yeah, somebody's saying in the chat that they're disappointed that Kranick didn't say anything about her lack of remorse. Maybe it's okay. You know, sometimes the judge says something, and it just helps the offender know what to say better next time, kind of thing. Mind you, that's it for her. She's done. She's done. Brian is free. The poor Torres family doesn't have to keep going through her crap. Meg says that she thinks the judge didn't say anything because he didn't want to give her the pleasure and satisfaction. Yeah, good point. Because she's not going to take it to heart anyway. She's just going to twist it all around anyway. It's not fair. Criminal says we replay the part where the judge sentences her. We go find it again, I guess.
She's on her way.
Okay. Can you just give me a heads up?
Does anyone else want
I
that?
gotta go downstairs real quick. All right. Start.
Because it was like 2 seconds. Not even. Yeah, he said it all with life. Yeah. That's all he said, life. This charming bat says Sarah wouldn't get anything from the judge's words. Yeah, you're right. Oh, somebody said he showed she isn't important enough to waste words on. Did Owens flee? Oh, no, there he is. I thought he fled already. Someone says in the chat, the judge dismissed her, basically, to let her know she doesn't matter. Aaron's saying judge ain't got time for that. Kranick took an example from juror number 3. Yeah. Well, she's done. Someone say she could have been out in 10. Yep. Jackie's asking me, will you cover the final ruling on her alimony? Probably not. I think Tanika's 2 cents is covering family court stuff. I'm not sure. I think she is. So you could try her channel. I don't think, obviously, Brian, what's he going to pay alimony for? The state's supporting her now, right? Kat says judge case. Like, yeah, you had enough in my time. Yep. She doesn't seem shocked. She seems prepared for this. It's interesting. She just seems like, man, that happened. So, I think that's it. Timothy says she didn't sound scared when she screamed at him while he cowered in the corner. Yeah.
She's signing it now for you.
Shadow Fox says now this reinforces her as a victim.
Order to appoint another attorney.
Yeah, I think no matter what anybody does, she will claim victim no matter what. So they could have kissed her butt and she would say it wasn't good enough. I can't see her face. Shirabella G is asking, can you explain the sentence? It's life. That's it. She got life. That's it. And yeah. So she has a family court matter still pending, but that was dependent on the outcome, or they were waiting for the outcome of this trial. Yes, it's life. There is no parole. So Juno's saying, how will she appeal? No lawyer. Well, I can't see even another Owens being able to what grounds? You need grounds to appeal. So Owens asked for a new trial, which is different from an appeal, but that was denied right off the hop. So yeah, she can appeal, but that doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere. Truth John says Owens has got his coat on. He's getting ready for his interview. Yeah. Clara says, how do you apply time served credit to a life sentence? Oh, that's a good question. In Canada, it's very different how that would work.
That's what they said. That's what he told me.
I don't know how that works in Florida. 'Cause life is life, right? Am I wrong about that? Floridians, life is life, yeah?
That's the female?
Oh, Malt's mommy is saying she'll appeal the sentence. Yeah, maybe, but see, there have to be grounds. So
they're like, all right, we don't have.
Stephanie's saying, take her away. Yeah, she's not. She's not responding. She might reserve that for later. Or maybe she expected it. Okay, guys, I don't know that there's any point sitting here watching her sit here. Criminal Mind says, I wish we could see her face when he said life. Yeah, I wish too. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. For some of you have been on this journey with me from the very beginning. So thank you for that. Thank you for hanging with me during this sentencing. I don't know what comes next. Brian Walsh was supposed to start, so I may have missed something, and maybe it's not starting when I thought it was. We shall see. There will be something, but over the next couple of weeks, I'm pretty busy. Krista's asking how long till she finds out what prison she's going to. I don't know. Oh, you guys are saying don't stop. Thank you, Bumbles. Courtney Clenny coming up. Yeah. So the next court date is Friday, but it'll be a Zoom thing. It's not going to amount to much. After that, I don't know. I don't know when. They haven't set a trial date yet.
For it. It was Jared and Fabian both leaving the same division. Because then there's just like this big power dynamic over there.
Boole ICU is saying Lowell's prison in Osceola. Or Oscala, sorry.
We're going to rotate 6 people as well. Rotate every person that we wanted to.
Oh, someone in the chat saying, yeah, I don't end it. I like seeing Sarah sit there by herself. So, I don't know. Like, this is... Her life is over, basically. I think I'd be more shaken up. But then again, I'd be more shaken up at doing such a thing. Hang on. Bye-bye, Sarah. Boom. All done. Okay. Now I can end it. Oh, somebody's saying scathing letters incoming. We don't care. We don't care. She doesn't deserve to have anyone listen to any more of her screed. She is guilty. She was found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. We all saw what we saw. The jury came back with the decision. She's been sentenced to life. She is indeed a murderer. And when she had the opportunity and probably the advice to show some remorse, she took the opportunity to stick it to the Torres family even more, as much as she could. That's what she did. That's what she chose to do. So life, that was a good decision. So, okay. Yes, Linda, you sentenced her to life. All right. I am going to go and forage for food because I haven't eaten since breakfast. So I need to go get something. So I thank you again for being with me. I don't know when the next video will be or what it will be about, but I promise it'll be fun. Trust your gut.